Buddy.
Hello world.
Ah, programmers.
All right.
Sup
So why don't
everybody?
you
Welcome
explain what
back.
we're going to be talking about today?
Well, before we explain what we're going to be talking about, we always got to introduce ourselves. Cross
Yeah.
Echoes.
I'm of course Grim66.
Aeonian.
And what we're going to be talking about today is everybody's favorite punching bag in league.
It's me.
And now everybody's favorite Russian punching bag in league.
Oh
Oh,
yes,
he's fucking Russian
Aatrox.
Nikolai.
now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Jesus fucking
He's Russian
Christ.
now. Aatrox, the Darkin Blade. Because if you haven't heard, our buddy's finally getting his rework. And it's on the PBE. And it's been a lot of talk about it this week. There's been comments like, "Why the fuck is he Russian?"
Hmm.
There's been comments like, "Why are his wings nubs? Why did they cut my man's wings off?" Some
Mother
comments
Russia.
like they like the old sword better. They like the old way he looked better. People have been complaining that they didn't really upgrade the skins well. Bunch of talk, but probably the biggest thing you might have heard is Riven 2.0. Literally,
Oh yes,
literally
the
Riven
iconic
2.0.
Q.
Oh, not just the Q. His his kit's in a good fashion set up the way Riven's is. You got some type of auto attack enhance for a passive. You got a triple Q for a Q. You got a CC on the W. You got a dash on the E, and you got an alt that puts you in a transformed state. So, I mean, same basis as Riven. We just don't know if he's a juggernaut, a skirmisher, or a diver yet. We'll find out soon enough. But we're just going to talk about Aatrox in general. How we feel about his update. How we feel about his old kit compared to his new kit. His old image compared to his new kit. And the elephant in the room. Why the fuck my man is Russian?
And also, when
Nothing
is
against
he
Russian.
coming? When is he going to be updated?
He'll be out on live servers next patch. So 6.13.
There
Or
we
my fault,
go.
8.13. So not this week, but next week he will be out. So far,
8:13.
yep, because they just released 8.12 last week.
Okay.
We did the patch notes,
Yep.
the patch
Yep.
discussion.
Sorry.
So, Aowen, if you would be so kind, bring up an image of my man's,
Aon
just
is
so we can
definitely not how to pronounce that, but you tried. I commend you on that.
say it again. Aeon.
Aeon. There we go. Aeon.
Hey,
Aeon is from Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings.
What's the difference?
Uh, Aeonian means eternal, like forever, like Aeonian.
what
It's
is
just a
that
Hmm.
from?
hmm.
What is Aeonian from?
It's just a word. It's literally a word.
Huh.
I was trying to find ways to say eternal, and I saw Aeonian. Um, and then I was like, oh, are there any alternate spellings? And there was one with A, and I was like, I'm doing that.
I like it. So,
Very interesting name.
I hear
there.
you.
I mean, well, you're basic. Grim's very basic. I'm just random.
Basic, and I ain't never basic, boy.
Really? Grim's not basic?
We can't
Ooh,
see you.
Grim. I'm the Grim
Unfortunately,
Reaper.
I can't choose my DJ name. Okay?
You can't choose your DJ name.
No, I
The
cannot.
DJ
That is
can't
the
choose.
that's the part of being a DJ is being able to choose your own names. Like rappers, they
Yeah,
choose their own
nah.
names.
About to
There,
say, boy, you weren't born with the name Grim. So last time I checked, you get to choose.
Shorty Rock. There's a DJ named DJ Shorty Rock.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I had a DJ name,
He is a little
and
person.
I had a DJ name, and everybody, all the old heads was like, "Yeah, no, that's corny. No, you ain't doing that.
No, bro.
This is your DJ name." And they
Look,
just kept
look,
going and kept
look.
going
You know
and kept
what?
going.
You know what? He wants to be basic Grim. We're gonna let him be basic Grim. Can you please get DJ Shorty Rock off the screen and let's look at
Yes.
some Aatrox?
I'm sorry. It's just hilarious.
Basic,
Hilarious.
not at all.
All right,
Get him
guys.
off
You
the
already know
screen.
what my other name was.
Now let's get a full picture so we can talk about how we feel about his new image update. Old to new. And then we'll get into the voice, because, God, that's the thing I'm not looking forward to today.
Well, my man
You
like
don't-
Nikolai off of,
You're not a fan of
You
FPS
haven't
Russia?
heard his
he sounds like a Nikolai off of Zombies. Like, come on, man.
You
FPS
haven't heard his
Russia.
voice. It's alright, you haven't heard his voice. Don't worry. You gonna hear his voice, because when you compare his old voice to his new voice, it's just like, what?
He
Right,
legit.
y'all do a
No,
lot of things
you think
right.
I'm playing?
That's
He
just not
legit
wrong.
sounds like. He really sounds like Nikolai.
Look, Riot does a lot of things right. That is not one of them.
Can we hear his voice on here? On the site?
I don't think on this one. But again, pull up a picture of like the way he looks, just so everybody can see. Like,
Okay.
Google it. It's probably gonna be your best bet. Just put in Aatrox. You'll find all of it.
Because new Aatrox brought that shit up because they've changed this nigga so many times. Holy fuck, he looks cool though. There we go.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, I do
He-
like the way he looks.
He got lips like Imperfect Cell.
Hold on, wait. Pick that the picture that shows both of them. Or no, the picture that shows both of them. Up. There you go.
That's not. Wait.
No, not that one. Go down.
Oh, there we go.
You see it now?
Mm-hmm. I think that's the same one. No, it's not.
So, these are the two different images we got. A lot of people have been commenting that they like the older look better. I will agree that his sword did have more of a personality, but in my personal opinion, it just kind of looks stupider. When you have a
that's the
sword,
personality.
when you have a sword that has like the three-prong thing, it's a weird sword spear thing. So, I mean,
His other sword was
when
a
you think
weird
of-
sword spear thing too, though.
well, no, this one isn't, because that sword that you're seeing on the left side, it actually has a three-prong point. So, like, there's three technical blades on it. So when you go for like a slashing motion, it doesn't really have a good slashing motion. The one on the right, it's literally just your typical double-edged sword. So you can cut with that, you can pierce with that, you can do all the typical things of a sword with that. That weird spear thing, it's just doesn't work for cutting. Considering he used to be nothing but an auto attack champion, it's kind of stupid. It's more of a bludgeoning weapon, just with a little bit of a sharp side.
I mean, the motherfucker's gonna be Riven soon, so I mean,
Hey, the new sword looks like Riven's. But the only thing that I honestly miss, I do miss him having actual wings all the time, and I feel like they could have done that, and then made his ultimate make him just look more badass when he transforms, when instead of just getting bigger. But I honestly miss the factor that he doesn't have wings anymore, and now he has these two little nubs. The nubs just look kind of stupid.
he looks like Jack Black. Jack Black's wings from Tenacious D, the "Fuck Her Gently"
Wow.
video. Now,
Now,
Yeah,
the
kind of.
thing is, I'm not. I don't know. I really don't know.
I would
feel
put
like,
in.
as far as the sword, I feel as though the sword now it feels more. It looks like it's more of a part of him than the other sword. Like it just looks like a weapon that some red guy picked up. It's like anything special, to tell you the truth.
Wait, you're saying that the new sword looks like a weapon that some red guy picked up, or the old sword did?
The old one did. It just looked like some random ass weird weapon that some red guy picked up. But
The new sword does match his character model. If you see the edges they have for it, look at his helmet, look at the edges for his little elbow thingies.
Yeah,
It does
I
match more.
I agree with that. I was also watching another video that was talking about, like, when you look at old Aatrox, because of the dark red that he has all over his body, when you look at him from specific angles, you kind of end up losing all the red, and it looks more just like he's a mass of gunmetal. But with this one, you can clearly see the difference between the brighter reds and the darker reds and the gunmetal. So regardless of what angle you look on, you always see that he is red and gunmetal. So for clarity's sake, The new one is a lot better. For dealing with crappier computers that run on toasters, the new one is a lot better. Like
Thank
another
you
reason why they
for
kind of
looking out for my computer.
exactly. It's another reason they got rid of the whole wing thing and only do it with the ultimate. But personally speaking, I feel like he should still have his wings because that was a big part of him. And the only other thing that I honestly really like on the old model is those veins that popped up on his hand looked pretty fucking badass. And now that his hand just looks like he's has a fucking flaming fist, it's less epic in my opinion. But overall, better. And when you
True.
want to compare splash arts, though, oh no, this new splash art beats everything hands down.
Well, of
But
course, the old splash art was just something.
basic.
Yeah.
His
This one literally
lips
is.
remind me
This
of
one.
Frieza. It's weird.
One funny thing that I've been seeing online is that
Oh, that's all right.
Looks like he
just,
has
just,
lipstick on.
just look at his face real quick. And while you look at his face, I want you to think about one thing. Think about Devilman Crybaby.
Oh,
Mm,
that's
Yeah,
fucked.
yeah. He looked like Devilman Crybaby. You can't tell me that he don't look like Amon. Amon, Aatrox, Amon, Aatrox.
you're reaching.
I'm not reaching.
This picture here makes him look like a Power Rangers villain.
Yeah.
What
Oh my
about my
god.
mech? How does my mecha skin look?
I mean the skins, like I said, for the most part, all the skins still look the same. The only difference they changed was the wings. So now everybody has nubs, and then when they go to their ultimate, or when you use your ultimate, you get these big, amazingly gracious wings that make them look like a fallen angel demon thing.
Hmm. I do love Transform Ultimates though. I mean, Swain, transformative ultimate,
Yeah,
and
that's
a
one thing that
great
kind of
one.
that's one thing that people were a little bit pissed about though.
What? People, people are gonna be
No,
pissed about things regardless. Y'all need to
well,
suck it the fuck up.
obviously, that's why I'm not really mad with his new kit. I have my certain gripes about it, but overall, it's a good fleshed out kit. It's just from what people have been saying, they're like, oh, they literally just use the same animation as Swain, and he just has Swain's ult. Meh, you can say that, but meh.
Then again, if you look at the old Aatrox ult, then actually the new Swain kind was modeled after him because his ult technically didn't really change that much. They just added an aura
I want
and made
Mm,
to,
him less
I want
auto
to
attack
take
base.
and find a picture.
right, but the old ult didn't like change him as much. The reason they're saying that is because when you look at Swain, there's no wings. When you look at him transform, he now has wings. When you look at new Aatrox, he doesn't have wings. When you look at him transform, he has wings. That's why
Yeah,
they're
but
saying, oh, it's the same animation now.
it's still the same stuff that they had before. It's really not much to change. It's a art that transformed. They're not going to really get in depth about that very so
Well,
much.
but that's not what they're saying. They're saying that the fact that all they did was add wings and make them a little bit bigger is why they're saying it's literally a copy and paste from Swain. Also, because Swain was the last champion that got reworked. So, like,
That's-
if instead of a little bit bigger, they actually made him look more demonic, and it wasn't just feeling of he just grows wings. People wouldn't be saying, "Oh, it's Swain." That's why everybody's kind of like linking the two. Still agree with you that I mean, it's League damn near everything in League is copy and pasted from everybody from somebody else because that's the point. Reuse the materials that you have to make things instead of making something new 24/7 365. Just becomes more of a hassle.
There you go.
So,
That's his alt right there on the screen.
well, don't worry about this because we're gonna end up bringing all that stuff up.
All right.
That's passive, but we're gonna end up bringing all that crap up very very
No,
shortly.
it says World Eater. World Ender.
No, I'm looking at the screen so it has the little bit of delay. But we're gonna be getting into that shortly when we get to talking about new Aatrox's kit. Right now, we were just talking about visuals. So overall, I think we can all kind of solemnly agree, though, that in our opinion, new Aatrox looks better.
Yes.
Old Aatrox wasn't bad, but new Aatrox looks better.
Visually,
So
he's a better champ, looking champ.
yeah,
Hey,
and
dude,
if
I got the
you
official page for him right here too, instead of on the wiki. I like the original. I like the official page only because the official announcement page, you can actually look at the animations and shit.
well, you can look at the animations on the. Well, the reason I wanted you to have the wiki up was just because we can look at old kit versus new kit pretty easily.
Oh, that's
If you
true.
click on live, you can see old kit. If you click on PBE, you can see old kit. And if we wanted to dive deep, like stupid deep, we can
You
also
mean
go to
Nuki.
before they did the rework. But not the point. Point is, go to YouTube real quick for me, because we're gonna bring up this man's voice. We're gonna bring up the elephant in the room.
Whoopity scoop.
That's not an elephant. That's a Russian.
Whoopty scoop.
That's racist.
Whoopty scoopty scoopty whoop. Whoopity
When you
scoop,
get to the
whoop,
Russian in the room,
whoop-diddy whoop scoop.
all you got to do on YouTube is
Bring him vodka.
what?
When you get to the Russian in the room, you just bring him vodka, right?
Don't bring him vodka. Bring me vodka.
All right,
Yeah.
so
Or
YouTube.
bring-
I'm on YouTube, guys.
All right, when you're on YouTube, where's that one specific channel? Because let's just go to his interactions and just listen to a couple of those interactions.
Oh, I could
Really?
have. You could have. Okay.
That's the Skin Spotlight channel.
Yes.
They have like the list of interactions and all that stuff.
Yep.
So, just play it for all the pretty people out there.
It's already playing.
Okay, I was scared for a second because I just went back to the screen and saw Kanye dancing to Lift You. So
Poopity scoop.
I'm not
Scoopity
ready.
scoop.
Poopity scoop.
Poopity scoop.
Anybody that
Bro,
does
that song,
needs
he
to do
trolled.
something with their life.
I'm still kind of upset that no one's like made a video of just like someone playing that song and changing the litter box yet.
There is a
It's literally scooping the poop.
there's a T-shirt for it with someone with Kanye with a cat scooping the poop.
But there needs to be a video of somebody doing it.
God damn, they actually did copy and paste the fuck out of that. Okay. They copy and pasted that shit straight from Swain.
Yeah, see, now you see what people were saying.
Oh
again-
god, but that death looks amazing. That's
But-
some Dante's Inferno, Devil May Cry looking shit right there.
Wait, are you on his interactions or are you just on his kit?
This is just his kit.
Get off the kit. We can bring that up when we talk about the new kit.
There we go.
Damn, you don't listen.
I did listen, but that was the first part of the video. That was the first part of the video, dude.
His interactions, that's not the first part of the video. I've seen the interactions video the
Alright.
moment it dropped.
It's up now. It has his voice.
So, can you make it so that the people out there can hear the voice?
They can hear the voice. Special interactions.
'Cause, oh god.
Mastery. I must congratulate you. Obviously, your parents never had reason to.
Oh shit. He said, Mastery, I must congratulate you because obviously your parents never had reason to. Bruh. Why'd they make
Yeah, he
this
is
man
savage.
why they make this man such a fucking savage?
He's
Because
Russian.
he's Aatrox and he's Russian.
Bruh,
He's supposed to be.
that hurt me.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets so much worse. His comments are all just
Good job,
He got a couple,
Riot.
he got a couple of them for masteries.
Riot
A couple of them for masteries.
Succeeded.
his comments are all I'm fisting you right now. I'm full-fledged fisting you right now, and there's nothing you can do about it.
This is the thing. Riot listens and knows how toxic their community is. They made a champ who is literally the living embodiment of their fucking community. The living embodiment
He's like, oh,
of their
great, a
toxic
mastery.
community.
Every time a Draven flashes mastery, after all, I get upset every single time. Every single time. Or every time he flashes it, every time he catches an X. Ching ching! I'll call that X.
I get mad when Yees do it. Like, bruh, you mastered Yee.
So,
You mastered Yee.
so quick question for you guys. How do you feel about his new voice?
I like his
I
new
mean,
voice.
I play Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty Black Ops a lot, especially zombie mode. So I grew very fond of Nikolai. So
Varus. V-A-R-U-S.
I guess
Your
it's
name
okay.
should have an A and then another A. Varus.
It's not a
I mean,
bad
I
There was
voice.
a memo,
It's not a
Varus.
bad voice.
There was a memo.
Hey,
that's my rock.
Yo,
Whoa,
he
that's
said there was a memo, Varus. There was a
It's a
memo.
memo.
What?
The A thing, the double A thing. We all agreed on the double A thing.
Why?
Oh God.
It's the people.
You all agreed on
I'm
the
surprised
double
you
A
missed all
thing,
this.
Varus.
These
The
are
double A
hilarious.
thing.
I got these notifications up whenever they do
Aside?
something like this, because this crap just
A
kills me.
5?
get
Are
to
you
learn all
planning
about
on
the
murdering
lore,
Fields
get
of
to
Wheat?
find out that he hates Pantheon, and the only person he hates more than Pantheon is Zoe.
Bruh, he said a scythe. Are you planning on murdering fields of wheat?
Wheat?
My
Did you get?
nigga.
Wait, he gonna be like, did you get stuck in the garden section?
I chose a sword,
Oh,
the
damn.
noblest weapon.
Aatrox is hilarious.
Seriously, I don't
But,
understand.
To me, it's a
Trapped in
voice.
The gardening section?
It's just a voice. I can deal with it being Russian. I can deal with it being
I will find a way
Zimbabwe.
to
I
tear
can deal
down
with it
the
being
heavens and
anything.
reveal you as
It's just a
fiends.
voice. I don't really
Yeah,
got
but
paid.
what's that little dark undertone that all the
Do I
other
resemble
Darkins have?
you?
This is true,
Abomination.
and that's the overall problem.
Your form
Me
is my
personally,
destiny.
I don't care because it's a voice, and I tune that crap out because I'm here for playing the game. But I do agree, they
You
probably
do
should
not
have just went with the
walk,
whole
do you?
make him sound like a Darkin. He literally, redid a good amount of Varys to make him sound more like a Darkin.
He said you do
And
not talk shit. Yes. Yes, bruh.
yeah, but if you pay attention to what that whole entire comment was about, it's about him trying to figure out was he corrupted by the void. So now there's
Mhm.
this whole conspiracy that, whatchamacallit.
He's like, my fate is not your fate is not mine. He's just like, oh, I'm not gonna end up a fucking floating eye. Yes, you are, my nigga. You gonna end up a
Not
floating
just a
eye.
float, not just a float, not just one of the void creatures in general, but the
I'm
conspiracy
sorry.
that everybody's talking about is they think that what the hell, Darkins are actually the original Targonians, like the people that Pantheon is the aspect of, the people that are actually at the top of the mountain that allow you to have those godly powers. They think that they're them if they become like fallen or corrupted or whatever. So a
Vel'Koz
Darkin is just one of them.
is the most lazy character art I've ever seen. Bruh, I don't feel like drawing shit right now. Look, it's an eye, it floats, it has tentacles. Fuck it. It's done. That's done. Give
I,
that to the
I don't
bosses.
think it was lazy at all. He was the first champion that he actually had to incorporate fluid-like movement throughout the whole gameplay. They had to make a separate engine just to have something like that, and they
I
used that
think
engine for. They used that same engine to actually make the model for Al Shin. I mean, what's his name?
Aurelian
Al
Soul?
Shin, Al
Aurelian
Shin,
Soul.
Al Shin,
Yep.
Aurelian Soul.
Yep. Aurelian
Al
Soul.
Shin.
Alshin
It should
doesn't
have been Al
exist.
Shin.
They cancel Alshin.
Shut up.
You
He's
guys
Al
gotta get
Shin.
over. You gotta get past that,
He's
man.
No,
not Al Shin.
no.
He does not look like a Japanese
Tricks
lightning
of
dragon.
Kanye. They will not hide you from me.
So about
Face your
Vel'Koz, just to end that little topic, to animate him
Another
is not legal.
foolish
To
god.
draw him, all they did was say,
Even the
I like
Phoenix
Shumagarath.
shall
We're just gonna
end.
make him purple and gold.
I mean, he's a
This is
basic
for
tennis
legs.
monster with an
Okay.
eyeball. You know what I
I
mean?
thought I
They
had
had
seen
movies like that
stupid
out
designs
before
before.
you even knew hentai was a thing.
Bruh, why
This
is
is
he?
true.
Why is he talking to Camille like that? Scissors for legs. Okay, I thought I'd seen stupid designs before, bruh. Why, bruh?
Because he's savage.
This
He's
nigga.
like the old grandfather that be at barbecues and whatnot. He don't care what he says. He just
Oh,
says it.
Basically.
it's like
And
that
that's
old
unlike,
racist
I like all his
grandpa
comments.
that comes to.
I think all his comments are great. I just wish that the voice felt more like Darkin.
Instead of
Great
it
voice.
choking.
All right.
Don't get me wrong,
Let's
it's a
go.
great voice. It's just they could have put that on so many other people. The only way I can see
Look
this
at your
voice is
noble
justified
courage,
is if he
Darius.
sounds like this because this is the vessel that he took over. It's somebody from the Freljord that's some Russian guy or some Russian sounding guy. If it's not that, then I don't understand why Aatrox has an accent.
Face judgment. I
He
know
keeps
your
telling people to
name,
come.
Fiora.
But
This is not a duel.
is everybody ready to move on to the next point, which is talking about old Aatrox?
Yes.
Oh, I really wanted to hear his Zoe interactions.
He hates her completely.
Just pause it and listen to it later.
That's definitely true. Yeah. So Russian. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with the Russian accent. I think that if they give some kind of fucking backstory as to why this motherfucker sounds Russian, that would be great. If they do not, I mean,
It would have to be the vessel that he had. That
Yeah.
he has currently.
There has to be some type of backstory to it, simply because when you look at why they updated Varys's voiceover to make him sound more like a Darkin and also to update it to his new lore, it doesn't make sense that Aatrox is reworked to be more of a Darkin when they have Rost sounding like a Darkin, they have Varys sounding like a Darkin, and then they just fuck that whole idea up, and they don't make Aatrox sound like a Darkin when he was the first Darkin we got into.
Makes sense.
Like I said, it's okay. The voice is great. This whole entire new Aatrox is great, but there are some glaring issues that will get brought up the moment you switch over to Aatrox's old kit, so we can talk about old Aatrox. Oh man, is this gonna be fun? The auto attacking machine, stupid auto attacking machine.
I need to bring up that. Sure. Lil Pump. All right, old Aatrox kit.
All right, let's talk about his passive real quick. The Bloodwell. I don't care about base stats because we don't need to talk about base stats. We just need to talk about the basics of what the abilities do. Bloodwell, as what was it? Whenever he uses his abilities, he starts filling up his Bloodwell. He fills up about 20%. So after 5 abilities, you're going to get it maxed out. But whenever his Bloodwell gets filled, he gains some attack damage, he gains some attack speed, and if he dies during it, he'll end up reviving with some of his health back. Whenever he revives, he still has like the bonuses that he gets from Bloodwell. That way he's not screwed over. When they originally had this ability, it was a crap ton worse because you just filled it up by the health cost of your abilities, and then once it was filled, if you died, you came back. But once you came back, you lost all the stats from it. So first iteration, horrible. Second iteration, a lot better. Going on to the next ability, which was his Q, Dark Flight. Jumped in the air, nosedived like an idiot, and crowned his face into the ground. If you got hit in the small circle, knocked you up. If you got hit in the bigger circle, just took some damage.
I felt like it was more of a. I felt like it was more of a superhero entrance type of thing.
The way the animation looked, it looked like he flew up in the air and then just went face first into the ground, like he was trying to put his face or his head into the dirt.
That is true.
But the old version, it cost a crap ton of health. Actually, it cost a percentage of your max health. That was the big thing about Aatrox back in the day. All of his abilities cost a maximum percentage of his max health except his ultimate. And I believe that ability cost like 20% of his max health or 20% of his current health. As of now, it doesn't cost any health. It just has long cooldowns. But doing it fills up 20% of your Bloodwell, and landing it on somebody actually fills up another 20% of your Bloodwell. Your W, which is probably not his most iconic ability, but the ability that everybody remembers, because in my opinion, it was one of the only good toggles. It's Bloodthirst / Blood Price. Bloodthirst, every third auto heals you. Blood Price, every third auto does bonus physical damage. And it also fills up 20% of as well whenever he does that hit. So it actually does something on both sides of the toggle, whether you just need to heal based on your missing health.
Increases like you already said that one of them increases.
Yeah, the well. So again, extra damage and increasing the well, or just healing you back because you're low. In the past, if you did the Blood Price, you actually had to pay health to do the extra damage, while the other one just healed you. And the healing usually wasn't as good as it could be. When they changed it, pretty good. It just didn't cost any health. Blades of Torment, originally they cost like, I believe it was 5% of your missing health or 10% of your missing health, something like that. But shoots out 2 blades in the weirdest angle, because instead of being 2 blades that come out like this, it's 2 blades that go to a point. Both blades could hit you. Both blades dealt the damage and they healed you, and they slowed you, not healed you. They dealt damage and they slowed you, and like I said, both could hit you. The new version, each blade ends up filling one part of his well. Old one, there was just the price of it ended up healing your well, or filling up your well. And then his ultimate, which was the easy ability, the only ability that scaled with AP, because why not? It's League, it's Riot. AoE damage, everybody that gets hit fills up 20% of your well. And when he's in this mode, he gets bonus attack speed, bonus attack range, and would just beat the living crap out of you since the attack range was 225. The old version of it, it did all those with the stats. It just didn't fill up the well based on everybody being hit. So it was just AoE damage, and you get your bonus stats for 12 seconds. So the very interesting and weird thing about old Aatrox is when they first created them, They were all hyping him up to be this crazy demon warlord, bloodlusty, crazy guy that would beat the crap out of you. And like, he was the idea of war. He was behind every war and basically just put that feeling everybody needs to fight and massacre each other in everybody. And then when he came out, he was just right click God. He was Master Yi 2.0, where all you did was right click and heal or right click and do extra damage with a dumb nosedive knockup, a dumb weird slow, and hey, I got 225 attack range and a crap ton of attack speed and smack the crap out of you. But the moment he died and his passive went off, you were happy that you came back, but you usually just died again because you had no bonus stats. So no bonus attack speed, no bonus damage, no bonus anything, and he just got his ass raped. Originally, he was really, really, really shitty. When they did the rework, he was bad, and then they buffed him up to a point where he was good, especially when Season 8 started. He's been pretty good all season. So he's not horrible. He just misses the mark really bad on being a cool demon warlord. Any other comments from anybody?
Not really. It's just
His play patterns were pretty good. He didn't have any combos, which was sad, but his play patterns were pretty good. It was, in my opinion, I really like the factor that he actually had a toggle where both parts of it do something. Because a lot of toggles in League, it's just you turn it on and it does something, or it's off. That's technically a toggle, but that's more of an on button. The toggle is usually you're toggling between two separate settings, and both settings should do something, in my opinion, or it's just a button you turn on. The factor that he could turn it from two separate abilities makes it really cool to have two separate effects where one does something and one does something else, because it makes you have to think what's better for this situation. Is it better that I heal back my health because I'm extremely low and I need to keep my sustain up? Is it better that I do extra damage because it's the beginning of the fight and I want to make sure I'm slaughtering the crap out of you because I'm not low on health? Made you really think about that ability.
I think they Aatrox, the first champion they did that with probably was Jinx next.
Who?
Jinx. I think Jinx is the next champion they decided to do that with.
Did Jinx come out after Aatrox?
What?
Did Jinx come out after Aatrox?
Yes.
I forgot. But yeah, you're right. I've completely forgot that Jinx actually has a toggle. And in my opinion, you're right. I think they looked at Aatrox's toggle and said, that worked really well. That felt really well. We should make another toggle like that. Because when you look at old school toggles, you have a Nigavia's ultimate. It's not bad, but it's literally just turn it on or it's off, and you get no bonus from it being off. You have Karthus's toggle, where you just turn it on and he has that AoE damage, and that's it. He had something when it was off, which is like he gained extra mana whenever he killed something. So that's kind of something, but that wasn't really an ability when it was off. It was just a passive when it was off. And then you got a Mumu's toggle where it's just, hey, it's on, and I do AoE damage. And if it's off, it does nothing. You had Cho'Gath's old toggle. When it's off, I just don't have AoE auto attacks. When it's on, I have AoE auto attacks, and they don't even cost mana. They're just here for the sake of being here. So what's the point in never turning it off? That's back when toggles were crappy. But to me, this was probably the first good example of a real toggle ability.
Wait, did you mention Anivia? Her toggle alt?
Yeah. Her toggle alt wasn't bad. It was just the factor that like
it was great.
Anything. No, it's good, but it doesn't do anything when it's off, so it's not really a toggle. It's just an on button. When you want it on, you just click it and it's on. The toggle's supposed to be, it has one setting and it has another setting, and both settings do something. So you have to figure out what's better to have. Does it do something when it's on left? Does it do something when it's on right? And Blood Price / Bloodthirst is the first example of that. The only other example that was good, as Grim brought up, was Jinx and her Q, where you can either have boost your attack speed up like crazy, or you can have AoE rockets. Having abilities like that are good, and they're different, and they're unique, because it gives you two abilities in one, but it's really just two separate effects, and what effect do you need right now? What effect's going to be beneficial to you? Because when you look at the rest of his abilities, his ultimate's good. It's basic and good for an auto-attacking champion. You get extra attack speed, you get extra range. Everybody would love that. Anybody that can basically outrange somebody and just splash the crap out of them is great, but it's very, very basic. His Q isn't bad since they reworked it, but the original knockup area was so small and so stupid, it was crappy. It's a good escape because you could always get over walls with it, but it was just also very easy to stop. They had to change it like twice after the rework to make sure that he was unstoppable when he went into the air, because everybody would like stun him or smack him when he went into the air, and then you would never get it off. So it was too
Of
easy to
course,
stop it because it was too slow.
of course.
Yeah.
And then people was complaining about that because they did the whole invincibility frame for it,
Exactly.
Master Yi, and it was like, okay, so Master Yi gets an invincibility frame, but Aatrox doesn't.
Exactly. So it just made the ability completely useless. It's an escape that didn't let you escape. It's an engage that didn't let you engage, and it's its only hard CC. So you made his only hard CC so easily stoppable and so damn slow that even if no one stops you, you missed every time. It's crappy. And then you got his E, and his E was unique because it's literally only skill shot that has that wide range on the back end, and it all goes into one specific point. But as much as it's unique, unique's always not a good thing because it's just stupid.
I mean,
It's a
it worked.
stupid and I'm not saying it doesn't work because the only redeeming part of his E is the factor that both blades can hit somebody, so they can literally take double the damage. That is good, but it's just stupid because it's just a weird, stupid angle. So it's like you can't really farm it because you're never going to be able to hit a wave correctly with that blade. You can hit somebody with both parts of the blade, but because it gets narrow towards the end, it's just a weird angle and it takes so long to get used to compared to other skill shots. It's
No,
the
not really.
weirdest skill shot in the game.
I think that last comment is subjective. Understand what you're saying, but truth be told, while playing Aatrox, it wasn't really that hard to land that. It was a awkward, yes, it was an awkward skill shot, but the speed of it and positioning in the range made it a lot easier to hit champions. Like most of the time, you would still most of the time, regardless of what type of trade you're trying to accomplish, you will at least hit them with one of the bleeds, which would do a significant amount of damage and do some slow. When you use that as a primary damage tool, no, but that was his primary method of poke, and it was effective.
Agreed. Even though, all right, it did have the highest base damage out of all its abilities. It had the lowest scaling, but it did have the highest base damage, so I'll give it that. And it did have pretty good range considering it was 1,000 range. So
Right.
all right, I'll take that back. It's not the worst skill shot in the game or the most awkward skill shot in the game, but it's definitely awkward.
I would say the worst skill shot in the game to this fucking day would still be Nami's bubble, which is and it's still pretty. Once you get used to it, it's easy to land the bubble. It's just that little delay, the fact of the matter that they make you stop moving when you fire it, the range and the diameter of the bubble itself is just so ridiculous that the minute that you stop moving, people can already predict where you're throwing the bubble.
Oh, so we gonna ignore the fact that you gotta whip Zoe's shit back like she's slinging dice, right? We're gonna ignore that one. Okay.
I mean,
I
but
mean,
it's not a hard skill shot to land, and it's not the
it's
worst
It's
skill. It's not
it's
the worst skill
straightforward.
shot in the
yeah,
game.
It's
it's a hard one
straightforward,
to
and on top
master.
of that, and then
Right.
on top of
It's
that,
good. It's easy to use. It's just hard to master. But the other thing
no,
is, she also kind of lets you redirect it. So even if you
yeah,
do mess up, you also have the chance to kind of redirect it and do it again immediately. So hard to master. I will definitely admit that. But easy to use. Oh hell yes. You'd be
I wouldn't say,
stupid with it.
so, yeah, and then on top of that, they give you a chance to still get some damage on it with the end of it being the splash.
I thought that took away
So
the AoE damage.
did they? Because I when did they do that? Because I remember playing the game for a couple days ago, probably maybe 4 days ago, when
No, no, no. My fault.
farming
My
the
fault. My fault.
minions and
No,
just hit the
no, no,
minions and
no,
then.
no. No. They kept the AoE damage. They took away the synergy between that and her passive. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
That's why they actually
Good.
buffed the AoE damage. I remember they changed something to the AoE damage, but I couldn't remember if they took it away or if they buffed it. They buffed it because they took away the synergy with her passive. So take that off.
But there's little things that will make a perfect skill shot. Like thrust skill shot would be amazing, even though that you still have the problem with hitting minions. You have to be very precise with it. Still a great skill shot. Now, if they let's take away that dumbass delay when you're casting it, it just would be a lot better.
True. I get why they keep the delay, but I
I
also
get
agree
why,
with that.
but I think that could be changed. I think that power scaling for that could be redirected somewhere else so that the hook would be a
Well,
little bit more reliable.
that's not really a power scaling thing. That's more of allowing there to be counterplay and allowing people to have a chance to react to it. Because if you don't do something like that, then it's just Blitzcrank all over again. Where hey, it's immediate and you're screwed.
But that's the thing. It's we still for them to do that and still have Blitzcrank.
Right, but that's the other reason why damn near all of Blitzcrank's power is put into that one ability.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that can easily be done with Thresh as well.
Agreed that they can change it. I'm just saying that's the main reason on why they left it that way. They left it that way only because to them that's the way to give it counterplay and to make it not as busted. But should they change it? Yeah, I can agree to that. But going back to Aatrox,
Back to
this is
him.
my main comments for his old kit. It's not horrible, especially not after the changes. It's just so lacklusterly uneventful. Because making someone that's supposed to be this big, crazy warlord have nothing to do but just smack, 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 smack because he's right clicking. Right click champions are boring as shit. That's why I hate AD
I
carry.
I personally did not like anything about his kit except for the Bloodwell and yeah, the Bloodwell and his toggle auto attacks. That's about it. I
Yeah,
felt like his Q could have been on another champion and worked just as well. In fact, I could actually see his Q being on Wukong.
I don't talk about Wukong.
Yeah, I can see his Q being on Wukong. I can see his E, that little blade to the ground to the point type thing. I think that can be on plenty of other champions. I actually was hoping that a champion like Nar would have had some type of ability where he scratches the ground and like the aftershock of his claws do some type of damage in a line. That could be like so his E could have been on another champion like that. Everything else about him was pretty lackluster. Didn't really like him as the champion altogether. His toggle auto attack and his Bloodwell was the only redeeming characters of Aatrox as a whole.
I can agree with that.
Now let's get to Cross Echo's favorite this part of the discussion about the new Aatrox Q.
Before we even get to Aatrox's new Q, let's go down the line and just break down his new kit in general, and then we're gonna talk about his abilities in general. So, just to be nice to everybody, as Aeon puts up everything. When you look at his new Q or his new passive, it is an auto attack reset. It is an extra bonus damage on his auto attack, and it has a static cooldown 25 seconds. You get bonus range. The next auto attack is going to deal 8 to 16% of your maximum health, and it's also going to do a new type of, not necessarily CC, but just a new status effect, which they call mutilation. Mutilation is just like the debuff where your healing is less, but it also makes shielding less. So, because League is too dumb to actually give us an item that just makes shielding weaker, which would also help us for items that give shields. Instead, they just said, we'll just start making a bunch of fighters have abilities that affect shields, like Aurelia and Aatrox. So just, give us an item that does it, but I like the idea of mutilation. Mutilation's a good concept. I feel as though they should start going back and they should just buff the items that have. I can't think of what the original version of that was. The thing that's on Mortal Reminder and the thing that's on Morello's Nomicon. What's that thing where it cuts healing? What's it called?
Grievous
Um,
wounds.
it's
Grievous
yeah,
wounds.
Right.
It's also
I
one
feel
ignite.
Grievous wounds or something
but
like that.
I do agree. I feel as though mutilation should just be the new version of Grievous Wounds. That would make a lot of people feel better about shielding. But it's a very good ability, especially because the second part of the ability is every time he uses an ability or lands the special area of his new Q, it reduces this ability's cooldown by 2 seconds. So you can actually use it a lot more often than what you think when you're skilled at using his abilities and making sure you're landing things correctly. but it's a very powerful auto attack. It's a very powerful little chunk of damage that you can just smack the crap out of somebody. And the fact that it takes away that healing and that shielding for a good 3 seconds and it cuts it down by 40%, he can decimate someone that has the same built-in sustain that he does.
It's like a partial Grievous Wounds.
It's an upgraded version of Grievous Wounds
Yeah,
because it
actually.
doesn't just do healing, it also does shielding.
It's
That's
built
what they're
in,
doing.
and
They're
it's
just,
built into his fucking kit. That is nasty.
yep.
Okay.
And the factor that late game it does 16% of your health, of your max health on an auto attack, that's gonna hurt.
Oof.
Now, as he was saying, my favorite part of this kit,
Here we go.
the thing that everybody calls New Riven, which,
The
kind
Darkened
of
Blade.
not. The Darkened Blade, new Q. It's a Q that after you cast it, you have 4 seconds to cast the second part and the third part. When you cast the second part, it resets, so you have 4 seconds between each part to cast the next part. The first Q is like a skill shot line where you slash your sword and deal damage. Second Q is a cone line where you slash and deal more damage, which is 25% increased on that first Q's damage. Q is the circle area where he jumps and he slams and deals 50% extra damage from the first Q. The biggest difference and the biggest cool part about this is that each one of these boxes has a little tip end, or for the third one has a center end, where if you hit in that sweet spot, quote sweet spot, it deals 50% extra damage. So all in all, you can make your third part of your Q deal double damage to what your original Q would do. And if you hit somebody in that sweet spot, it also knocks them up for a second. So
That's
he has 3
fucking-
knockups.
No.
He has 3 knockups in one ability if you land everything correctly.
That's
He can keep
fucking
you chained
broken.
so bad. Well, it's not because
That's
the hitbox is
broken.
extreme. It's not.
The hitbox is extremely ridiculous.
extremely
the
small.
only one, the,
It's
the
extremely
only
small.
hit, the only hitbox that you actually have a better, well, you have
The best chance on is the
yeah,
last
the
hit.
best chance of hitting it is the last part,
And
which
to be
they
honest,
didn't want
it's
to take away from
probably
him.
the same. It's probably the same hitbox that he had on his old Q, which
Yeah.
is good because you can at least make sure that you're going to land one of those knockups. But the reason why this is a good ability is because it has so much potential for a skill ceiling. It's going to take
yeah.
you so long to master hitting all 3 of those knockups.
But when you
every
do,
time. Oh no, when you do, you're going to decimate somebody, which is why if he's on a team that has a crap ton of CC, oh, you're screwed because you're never getting out of a chain of CC. But the ability is really good. It deals extra damage for jungle monsters and knocks them up for double the amount of time. So basically, when you're jungling, he's going to be a really good jungler. It's a really good ability, which is why they also gave it a really long cooldown. It's a good ability. Does it feel like Riven 2.0? Only because of 3 casts. It doesn't allow him to have the same mobility that she has because he still stands in the same spot. But overall, it's a really, really, really good ability. It's just interesting. And we'll get to why I say interesting later. His W is probably the ability that I'm the most annoyed about. It's a good ability. I'm just annoyed that it's on him. But it's called Infernal Chain. He shoots out a skill shot, deals extra damage to minions if it hits a minion. If it hits a champion or it hits a large monster, it will chain that person and make a big square around everything. Whoever gets hit by it is also slowed for 1.5 seconds. The reason the chain is important if it hits that champion or that monster, if they are still in that box after that 1.5 second slow, they get dragged back to the center of the box. So, going back to those knockups, if you have somebody that's going to get dragged back to the center of the box and you always know the location they're going to get dragged to, you can at least always guarantee that you're going to land one knockup if you're smart. And it deals a good chunk of damage because when they get dragged back to the center, it deals the same initial damage again. Now, his E, which is probably the most lackluster ability, but it's not a bad ability.
it's a dash.
It's a basic dash. It's a very, very short basic dash that can let you get over very small walls. Kind of like a Graves dash or a Lucius dash or a Lucian dash. It
Ooh, it
has 2
heals.
charges. It has 2 charges. You can use a charge every 3 to 1 seconds and it recharges. But the really cool part about the dashing is it gives him bonus attack damage, scaling up to 55 for 1.5 seconds. The really, really cool part about this dash, which is the only redeeming factor about the dash to me, is when you dash, you can also dash when you're doing your abilities. So if you need to line up your knockups correctly, you can use it to increase the range or decrease the range so you can knock up, or so you can get to that sweet spot a little bit easier when you're dashing. Also, since you're dashing, it's going to also make that ability have an extra 15 to 55 AD when you're doing that one specific knockup. So you can make your knockups deceptively strong if you're able to land them correctly and move that dash into it. The other part of the ability is just the basic passive, which is whenever you do damage, he heals for 15 to 20% of that damage. And if he's doing it against minions, or my fault, if he's doing it against non-champions, it's 33% less effective. So really weak healing unless he's hitting champions. But the fact that he can heal 20% of his damage, you do that with a Death Stance, he's not dying. And then his ultimate, World Ender. His ultimate, when he casts it, he looks like Swain. He will fear everybody around him or every minion around him for 3 seconds, and for the next 12 seconds, he gets his wings back. Really giant wings, and he also gets a lot bigger. When he's bigger, he has a bonus movement speed that lasts about a second whenever he's out of combat. So he gets pretty good movement speed. He can get up 240 extra movement speed when he's out of combat. He will also gain 20% bonus AD. He does not gain bonus range anymore, just bonus attack damage. But like I said, he gets bigger anyway. The best part of this is his old passive is now mixed into it. So while he's in this state, he will start to gain health inside of his well. It starts out at 15% of his health, it ends at 50% of his health. If he dies anytime between this, however much his well fills, he will gain that health back over 3.25 seconds. But while he's doing this, he is untargetable. He cannot do anything, and he can move. He's 25% slowed, but he is the only character in the game that when he is coming back to life or having a a guardian angel effect put on him, he can actually move. He's still slowed by 25%, but the fact that he can move lets you reposition very, very well with this ability. That's the basic breakdown of Aatrox. Is it a very good and thought out kit? Yes. Does it have a lot of synergy and work very well? Hell yes. I love this kit. I love the way this kit works. Do I feel like it's completely Aatrox? Meh. And we'll talk about that because me and Grim have been arguing about that. But overall, don't get me wrong. It's a great ability. Not a great ability. It's a great kit. It's a kit that is very, very synergetic, which is the thing that I love when they do right at Riot. And it's just a good kit overall because it feels fun to play. It will take time for you to master. It will take time for you to learn. But once you put that time into it, you're going to slaughter people. You're going to slaughter assholes. So, I'm done talking. You guys comment on it for a little bit.
So this is going to be a new favorite jungler for a lot of people.
I can definitely see that. I can see him dominate. I can see him dominating top lane again. Where
he has been on PvE.
When Bruises was actually running the top lane.
I mean, fucking Bruisers are being taken down to bot lane now. I'm seeing bot lane Master Yi. People play Master Yi, dude. Master Yi in the bot lane.
Actually, speaking of which, I was trying to see how that new shit will work out. Try a new game strategy, as I should put it. Basically, I'm not supporting no damn ADCs, no marksman. Run TP, go top and mid, stay there, but stay between the two.
I mean, that completely fucks that ADC who's gonna get two-manned.
Hey man, look, sometimes just go for it. I've been supporting for too long, and I know that. Look, after a while, you can't. Sometimes you just can't help it. You can't help some people. Some people can't be helped.
I mean, that's
you trying to help them.
That's true for any fucking lanes. I mean, there's some shitty top laners that I've seen get amazing ganks and just sit there. It's like, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? Am I supposed to attack them? Yeah, you're supposed to not let your jungler fucking die by himself because you're being a retard. But it comes down to like common sense in players, and this is I'm starting to see a very common pattern for League.
Common sense is not common in League, bro. Nor in life in general, to tell you the truth.
That's fine.
Bricky said it the best. Bricky said, one good player, you cannot win it. It's hard to carry a game. You cannot win a game by your like. You can't actually carry your team to a fucking victory. It's harder to do it by yourself. But it is easy as fuck for one player to completely lose you the game.
That's true.
That is why there's so much fuckery within League in general. They want to make it more team orientated, but the problem with it being more team orientated is you're playing with complete strangers. A and B, some people were fucking morons.
That's true too. This is one of the reasons why they're pulling back on some of the team orientation and making it a little bit more snowbally, so you can actually show off
Pretty much.
and carry if you need to.
I want the fucking
But-
hyper carry back.
But going back to talking specifically about this new kit, like we said, there's a lot of good
I love
benefits
his
to the kit.
alt.
There's a lot. Oh yeah, the alt's great.
That's
Like I
amazing.
said, there's a lot of parts of this kit that are amazing. My biggest gripes have to be that the Infernal, like Aatrox does need sufficient CC. He does need. It's good to see him have a slow. It's good to see him have a pull. It's good to see him have an ability where he can do a little bit of poke, like his old E. He has a slow, like his old E. He has new CC where they get dragged in and everything. It's just weird because when you look at him, nothing about him screams, I have a demonic chain. Nothing about him screams, I'm gonna pull you in and pull you back. I get it that, you know, these people were stuck in their little or Darkins were stuck in their blood wells, and they were, you know, chained down, and basically there was some type of binding magic. But if it was binding magic that was used against them, I wouldn't imagine that he got freed and now has that binding magic to use himself. So I feel as though if they were going to do some type of CC ability, there's probably an easier way to make it work, because it doesn't feel like a demon bloodlord when I'm just throwing a chain out and pulling you, especially when the chain link again doesn't really show up on his kit. It
That's
just
the
looks like
ultimate
a magical-
helplessness, though. I mean, that's like everyone's gonna blow their fucking flash, or he's gonna blow his load all over your fucking lane.
Well, like I said, it's not a bad
I
ability.
mean,
It's just-
it doesn't happen with Varus. People usually don't dodge that. Like some CC is, it'll be better just to sit there and take it than to run it and give them the advantage of actually being offensive.
My man's here
Sometimes you just
he
sit there and
gotta
take it.
get over here. That is exactly what he has.
yeah,
Cool.
but the only thing is you have to actually land it, and it's not as long as you think.
It's not a Trox is not a get over here. It's a bang. Oh, you're in the zone. Now you're getting yanked, type of thing.
You're in the danger zone.
Yeah.
Danger zone.
I'm in danger.
I need an adult. I need an adult.
Basically. Actually, now to think about it, the best way to sum up that ability is, give me that butt. That doesn't give me that butt ability.
Nope.
Nah, Blitzcrank
sorry.
is to give me that
Give
butt
me- yeah.
ability. Actually, if you want to go even further, Thresh is, because Blitzcrank is a fast yank.
Nope.
No,
Thresh
no,
is
no, no,
slowly
no,
pulling
no.
you back in. Like,
No,
what
that's
were you
immediate.
doing?
No,
No,
I'm-
no, I agree. It's Blitz. Blitz is give me that butt. Because he got you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Nah.
But in general, I just don't feel like it. It doesn't feel like an Aatrox ability. It's a good ability. It's just for who he is and how they're demonstrating him now. It just doesn't feel like he should have that. It feels like everything is about him beating the living shit out of you with that sword. So it's just like, yeah, beat the shit out of you with the sword. Beat the crap out of you with the sword. Crazy ass sword slam chain. Where the fuck did chain come from?
That is a you're getting beat and have someone having your arm held at the same time. Like, you not going nowhere. Oh God, it is. It is
Yeah.
actually a arm hold.
It is, but what I'm saying is it doesn't feel like it matches his kit. It's like when you look at a character's design and you see what a character's supposed to be able to do, when they just
It's for
have something that
convenience.
just doesn't fit, or they have something that feels a little bit out of place for what that character's supposed to do and have, it's like, well, I mean, I see you having it, but Darkins are known for blood magic. Yeah, Infernal Chains doesn't sound like blood magic. It's just like, wait, where the fuck did you get the chain from?
Would
where
you
did that
rather it
come
be a
from?
bloody chain?
Meh. I just don't feel like he should have had a chain. It's a great ability. I could just see it on somebody else.
I can see that ability still being on him, but maybe implemented it differently. Maybe it's like maybe a blood based bring in, kind of like a bloodbender on Amazon, like on Avatar. Like there are ways you could they probably could have formed that out a little bit more, but you got to think about it like this. He seems like the kind of that is going to want to duel. He's going to be a dueling champ probably.
Right.
You don't want
And
nobody getting away from you. And I think they
right.
thought of that one too. They thought about it as like either we're gonna give him some kind of way to fucking chase. So they were gonna give him some kind of like extra dash maybe. But they gave him a dash. So like
Let's call that a dash. The reason I'm bringing it up is because, like, when you look at the way that they presented him in the trailer, you see him just jumping around and beating the shit out of people with that sword. And then he jumps in front of the person's face and looks over them and just kills them.
my
So
thing
it's
for the
like
chain.
they could have made a jumping ability where he jumps at you with the sword on some crazy distance, or not even crazy distance, but just a way to jump on somebody and smack the
So
shit out of
Riven,
them, CC them.
you would give him a gap closer like Riven? Is that what we're talking
No,
about? Yes,
no,
yes.
because his E is literally Riven's gap closer right now.
Yeah.
That little dash. The only difference is he doesn't get a shield. He just gets 2 dashes.
That's
I
what they
wouldn't
could have
make
gave
it.
him
I
instead of
wouldn't
that
make it.
chain.
I wouldn't make his Q have that. I like the fact that they want you to have to use the E to get the distance with his Q. It's a good synergy. It's also a really forced synergy because it looks like, hey, we're gonna make an ability specifically so you can move around when you're doing your Q. You don't really want to use it when the hell you're using your W, and you don't really want to use it when you're using your alt because you're just gonna pop your alt and then get movement speed. So it's really just a forced ability or a forced follow-up ability to your Q to make it easier to land, which is why I have gripes with the E. But it's not a bad ability. I feel like the passive could have just been a fucking passive and just scale with the game, but that's another weird thing that Riot does. They always have, hey, here's a passive ability that feels way more like an active, but it's a passive, and then we're also just going to throw passives on abilities because why the fuck not? Look at Poppy. The passive that probably should have been her passive is on her W. And her actual passive, where she throws her shield at somebody, is her passive. That's not a passive, but what the fuck ever. So there's weird things that they did with this kit, but overall it does feel like a very good kit. It's just when you have somebody like the old Aatrox again was an auto attacking machine. He did not live up to the hype of being a demon lord. So I feel as though they changed up his playstyle so much that everybody that knew how to play him over the past 3 years are getting a completely different fucking person. Yes, and there are small problems with that. Because when you have somebody, like when we look at Swain and when we look at Aurelia, people got used to playing that champion since that person came the fuck out. You just got used to being and doing things with this character in a specific way. So what they're supposed to do when they rework a champion is to, or relaunching a champion, whatever the fuck they do to make a change. It's supposed to be a beneficial change so that it just creates more of a skill ceiling, but it doesn't fuck up the skill floor. It doesn't fuck up what the champion was. Warwick is the perfect example of that. Everything about new Warwick is everything you could have did with old Warwick, but there's more room to grow and more room to do shit instead of just I alted, I did my job, I'll be back when my alt's up, I'm gonna go farm. New Warwick allows you to do all that old shit, but better. And there's more room to do cool combos and different shit. This new Aatrox can do all the cool combos and shit, but the fact that they completely abandoned how your auto attacks, like shift into the ability, it's kind of weird. They could have gave him the old Bloodthirst, Blood Price passive or W, where you get to choose how it affects how you're playing and how you're fighting, and instead like it affects your Q and it affects your E or some shit like that. They could have did things where your auto attacks are a little bit more in tune. I do like that his passive is the auto attack enhancer. I thought at first when they said 25 down or 25-second static cooldown was ridiculous, but the fact that you can hit it off more after using your abilities, you can shave off a basic 10 seconds or up to 16 seconds from that thing's cooldown, so that the cooldown's really only 7 seconds. If you want to be technical, 5 seconds if you also do your ultimate. So you can get it off twice in a fight, and it can be good. But at the same point in time, you're barely bobbing and weaving auto attacks in that. I'm happy that they didn't make you and force you to bob and weave auto attacks into this kit, because that would make it feel way too much like Riven, because Riven's passive is literally Q, auto attack, Q, auto attack, Q, auto attack, alt. And like I get it, they don't want it to feel completely like Riven, but it's just like they really abandoned what he used to be. So for all the people that are used to playing him, it's like, wait a minute, I don't know how to fucking play this anymore. I'm glad that it's not just right click. They definitely needed to make him more ability focused. But maybe 60% ability focused, 40% auto attack focused, 30% auto attack focused, 70% ability focused, so that it still feels like he can do some of the things he used to do. Because now there's no incentive whatsoever to build attack speed on him, so you don't get any of that same feel. The way that he used to do his knockups feels pretty damn different now, because it's a lot of knockups. The way he used to do his little bit of poke, pretty damn different now. To be honest, you don't really want to use his W for poke the same way that you wanted to use his E anymore. You want to use it for lockdown. So if you're sniping out minions, you're kind of wasting the fucking ability, since it has an 18 to 14 second fucking cooldown. So, not a bad kit, not a bad character, not a bad rework. But does it feel anywhere near like the old character? No. He just honestly feels like a whole fucking new character.
And that brings us back to both our same argument, that the identity of a champion is not something that the community should make up, to tell you the truth.
No, this is true. This is true.
If that's the case, then they might as well just give us a blank champion and then allow us to make it to an identity that was. The identity is based off of whatever the creators wanted it to be. Now,
I agree with you.
Making an auto attack slave, they didn't have that in mind. It happened, and that was probably one of the aspects of the character they was not willing to keep. Now, everything else that make him feel like he still was the champion, just not the same playstyle. I feel like they kept some of those elements. Other than I like the original Bloodwell, even though they did fix it into the alt. I like the original Bloodwell.
They had to take it off the passive because it was too strong to allow you to come back that early into the game. The fact that he can come back to life level 1, it's the same reason why Volibear's passive is stupid. It makes it too hard to deal with early in.
Volibear passive, people be hating on that. Volibear passive works out because, once again, your favorite subject of your favorite thing to argue about, power scaling. He has nothing early game. Armor is lackluster. Health is mediocre compared to some HP tanks in the game.
Right, because they add that into it, which is why I'm saying if they take that away, they can actually buff out the kit to make it feel better so that he doesn't feel so lackluster, besides the fact that, you have this one little overpowered aspect. This one overpowered aspect that's not really a good overpowered aspect. It's not a healthy overpowered
But that's the thing. It's not even overpowered, to tell you the truth. He still dies during it.
Of course he does. A lot of times, especially if you have somebody that knows how to, again, cut off his healing or something like that. But the thing is,
sometimes you can just out damage the hill. The hill's not
Somehow, I doubt you've mastered self-esteem.
no more better than having
Somehow, I doubt you've mastered self-esteem.
It's no more better.
This is true, but when you're dealing with it on a level 1 basis, it becomes problematic because it's a lot harder to deal with that healing at level 1, at level 2. Later in the game, his passive becomes pretty damn
I
relevant.
must congratulate you. Obviously, your parents never had reason to.
He has no real defenses. Like I said, his resistances are lackluster, and his health scaling is
right. But to bring it back to Aatrox real quick, when you look at taking away that Bloodwell and putting in a Q that you can literally use 3 times, that still makes him oppressive early game. When he has that passive that can cut the healing, it still makes him oppressive early game. But it's oppressive early game in a much more manageable way instead of just, hey, I come back to life for no goddamn reason. And it's hard to deal with that because you all-in, and now he came back to life. And he came back to life with a good amount of health, where now he can just fuck your ass over because it's a big-ass heal.
True.
And
I always
again,
you go ahead.
Going back to the comment that you just made about like allowing the community to say what the character should be, I completely agree that that's not the case and that's not what they should do. Because again, when they changed Swain, when they changed Aurelia, They changed a good amount of Aurelia so that she doesn't play a lot of the way that she used to. They kept certain aspects that they liked. They didn't keep that stupid stun. They didn't keep the true damage from the W. They didn't keep the healing from the W. They made it a very small heal on the Q, but barely. But it's not about what you take away and how you take away. It's about play style. If you're going to completely change a character to make them a different kind of play style, you need to keep some of the play style, at least a good chunk of the play style that the character used to have, because you allow people to become attached to their character over all these years. If you played Mortal Kombat when Mortal Kombat 11 comes out, and Sub-Zero and Scorpion can play completely different than the way they used to fucking play, that game would sell poorly, and everybody would be pissed the fuck off because the characters that I've known and I've loved for the past 20-something years aren't what the fuck I know anymore. That's just stupid. You don't change Ryu to make Ryu completely fucking different in the next goddamn game, because then you're gonna look at the game and be like, what the fuck? This isn't the character that I like playing. Where's the character I like playing? If you let me go attached to something, you have to kind of honor the people that play the game and honor your community and say, okay, we're going to make some changes and make some alterations to make them better, but we're also not going to discriminate against the people that made the character, that loved the character in the first place. That's when you fuck up. That's when you have a Galio situation.
Oh yeah.
Galio's not bad. Galio's not bad at all. But does Galio do anything old Galio really did in any way, shape, or form besides the fact that his ultimate is now his W? No. No.
I gotta say,
And that's the problem.
Galio's ultimate was probably like old Galio's ultimate was amazing. It was a fucking game changer if you
If you
played
landed
him
it
right.
right. Right. Old Galio was basically, you need a smart team. If you have a smart team, oh, you about to get fucked. You about to get fucked in every way, shape, or form. Because he is about to ruin everything you love. If your team is good.
I'm
If
gonna
you
ruin
playing
that
solo
butt,
queue,
Chris. I'm a warrior.
right. If you play solo queue and you're Galio, you're stupid. If you're playing flex with your friends in your Galio, oh, you about to ruin somebody's fucking day. The moment they realize all you niggas is all friends, they're like, oh damn, we gonna get locked down by some fucking Amumu alt or some Sejuani alt, and the next thing you know, it's gonna be fucking Galio's alt coming in and wrecking people. But when they take away so much of what the fucking character was supposed to be, and they do all these changes, and it doesn't feel like anything of what the fuck it used to resemble at all, and it doesn't feel like upgrade, it just feels like something completely new. Everybody that grew to love that person is gonna be like, this is just completely new. Because again,
Well, some
a lot of people
that's
that
the thing.
love.
Some people that fall in love with the champion, they fall in love with the identity of the community. Made that what they built that into the meta. So
I think that. Oh no! I think there's a slap in the face when someone learns and masters a champ. It takes a lot of time to master a champ. No one picks up a champ and automatically just gets it like that. You commit a lot of time to it, and over a course of 100 games or 100 sub games, for some people, a lot of work is put into really getting that champ down to snuff, and for you to change it completely and to completely throw out that and to make everything that someone learned about that champ completely obsolete is insulting to the player.
well, that's once again that could be said in many different forms. So to say that person was using that champion as an exploit. So of course, it's not going to cater to them. I don't think that's a slap in the face because once again, you are
Right,
taking
but
the
it's
identity. You're taking the
not an
identity
exploit.
of a champion that a creator has made and making it into your own thing. If that's not what the creator
But we
wanted
didn't
to
make
do,
him into our
then
own
what they
thing.
That's
We
the
did.
made
that's
him
the basis
exactly.
of the
We made
gameplay.
him exactly.
Okay,
We made him exactly the way that you told me to play him. If you
okay,
told me to play him as an auto attack slave because you made an auto attack slave, that's your fault for making an auto attack slave.
and
Look at
so
look at
exactly.
Ao
So
Look at Ao
so
They couldn't launch Ao because Ao could not work, especially the way that they wanted to release him. So why would you release Aatrox in the state that you did if you didn't want him to do any of the shit that he did?
because
And
they
that's
were
the
still
problem. They changed him
because
and
once again
changed him again.
because the game was still pretty early at that point in time. They were just releasing motherfuckers. They
No,
released
it
some
wasn't.
because
When Aatrox came out, it's like fucking 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
he came up before Lucian. Lucian was like 4 years ago.
Right. That's why I said 4 years ago. But again,
So that means he was out longer than that. League only's been League hasn't been out that long. He's probably
We got
Aatrox
the
probably
damn
got
page.
released.
We got the page up, so actually we can look. He came out 2013.
Exactly.
Okay, so actually, yeah, since this is June, that was 5 years ago.
My
But
whole thing is, even if
going,
you, oh,
go ahead.
yeah.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
It's not an exploit if you're playing the game, if you're playing the champ the way it's supposed to. I'm not saying for Riot to like have to get everyone's approval on it, but I'm saying at least they should at least take some consideration and should take the players into consideration, because without the players, regardless of how good the champs are and the game mechanics are, without the players you don't have a game. You just have a bunch of software that no one fucking uses. So it's not like this game has a story. This game don't got a story. There's no single player. You literally, your gameplay, your selling point is the players that people play against. So to take into consideration that people put large amounts of time into your game, and that's not an insult towards Riot, that is a compliment towards Riot. They should be happy that someone takes so much time to appreciate your creation, that they master it, and to say, well, fuck you, now I'm getting rid of this, now I'm learning this new one is stupid. If you want to make such dramatic changes and make a completely different champ, make a completely different champ. But if you see that enough people are playing a certain champ, why fucking change it so that that champ is completely erased? Give people the option.
Because
Right,
then you go through,
like what
because
they
then
do
you
with
go,
Aurelia.
because you then you go through stuff like, of course, this is one of the main examples, because this is a real drastic example of it. Cross Echoes already knows this example. Look what they did to Lulu. A lot
But
of people
Lulu,
came, a lot of people
but
came
Lulu
into the
wasn't
game.
changes. Lulu was nerfed. That's
Oh
different.
yeah, she was nerfed. I'm saying this is what was going to happen to Aatrox. Continuously, him being changed because he's trying to fit image that the community trying to make him out to be. And then as many times as they try to make different builds for him, different strategies for him, you see how he just fell into the background
He was a niche. He was a niche champ.
The reason,
because he
no,
would
the reason, no,
That's fine.
the reason why he fell into the background,
because the play style and the scaling of him was so niche. Like I said, like as far as the
niche.
argument, as far as the argument goes for a champ, somebody putting so much time and effort into a champion, there are plenty of new players that came into the game saying that Lulu was a top laner. They put all their time and effort into Lulu being the top laner. People actually one trick Lulu to being the top laner, and they climbed fairly high. If that was the case, then league if that was the case, then league would have been like, you know what, the community really wants Lulu to be a top laner. The community really needs this to be what it needs to be. Let's keep it this way, or that's big alterations to her kit to make her more fitting for the community. No,
but that's
do
not
that.
what we're saying. That's not what we're saying about Aatrox. First off, the only reason why Aatrox failed when he came out is because the type of playstyle Aatrox was when he got released, they were nerfing it in general. So he ended up falling underneath and ended up being crap ton overwhelming. But the thing with Aatrox is, it's not like people were doing one trick AP Aatrox bot lane. They're doing Aatrox top lane. They're doing Aatrox jungle. Those are the only two. So they ended up making sure that this rework was going to be proprietary to that. When you look at someone like Aurelia, they looked and they said, based on what everybody is playing, based on what everybody likes about this champion, let's keep the things that people like. People like her stun, but let's make the stun more unique so it's not so easy, so it's a little bit more skill based. People like that you can dash around like crazy. People like that fantasy. They wanted to keep the fantasy of Aatrox being a demon lord, a very, very crazy edge lord type metal shit, but at the same point in time, it's about keeping the essence of the gameplay. They didn't have to change it as hard. Because again, it is good that they want to make him more ability based. He should be more ability based. We're not saying that he shouldn't be ability based. But going back to that W that you even agreed that you liked, that W was pretty fucking essential to his abilities. So if they would just would have snuck that W in there, that way he had a reason to auto attack, and that way there was a point in auto attacking, he
But the
could work.
problem,
There
but
was
the problem
Aatrox
was,
builds. There
but
was
the problem
Aatrox
was,
builds where he wasn't just auto attacking.
but the problem was he was the W. That thing was that thing was great, but the only problem with it was his W. That's why when I said the two main things about Aatrox that made me feel like I was playing Aatrox was the W, because that toggle was him. That toggle was what kept him alive. That toggle was what helped him with his passive. And then, of course, his passive. Those are the two things that made Aatrox the series. Everything else is just like, who cares?
Right. So if you look at his new passive and you turn his passive into a toggle, where you do one hit and it ends up doing everything that it does right now, but you nerf the whole entire idea of much max health damage it does. Instead, it just does extra flat damage. And then you have the other part of the ability where that's where he's allowed to heal back 20% of his health, or 20% of the damage that you're dealing. You have that same ability being there, and it allows the auto attacks to feel a little bit more impactful. So if you have somebody that wants to build Conqueror and be more ability focused, you have that. If you have somebody that wants to build
Lethal Tempo.
lethal tempo and be more damage focused, you have that. The fact that everybody is building Aatrox where they pick lethal tempo, they pick press the attack, they pick what is this? Hail of Blades. They picked something that was a little more auto attack focused, just to have different type of various builds. Cool.
The only thing I'm saying is they just need to bring back the tank meta.
That has nothing to do with how we were just talking about.
I don't give a damn. I'm saying that's gonna fix everything. Bring back the tank meta.
Yeah, fix. But in general, like we all agreed on, the rework's not a bad rework. The rework's not a bad kit whatsoever. Very well thought out and very well done kit. But in general, when League decides to do more reworks and more changes, they need to really think about who's playing this first. And be all honest, there's a lot of people that weren't really playing Aatrox, and Aatrox didn't get a lot of hype until they did this small little buff rework change to him last year. So I can also understand why they decided to just go balls out and make the biggest change possible to him. Because when it's a tiny ass percentage of people playing him, you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want with it. They're not gonna do the type of change they did to him, the fucking person that's next to Kali, because people play Akali. Akali's been around a lot goddamn longer, and people know and basically sit there and fucking worship playing fucking Akali. There's main accounts that are on YouTube where all they do is fucking one trick Akali. Akali's kit's pretty fucking simple and pretty fucking obvious. What am I gonna do? Her Q's not really gonna change that much. Her ultimate's not really gonna change that much. And they like the Shroud. They're gonna change parts of it, but they're gonna keep those kind of basics so that it still feels that way. When they change Nunu, they're gonna keep is consumed. They're gonna keep you feeling like you're throwing snowballs or some shit, and they're probably gonna keep some type of variation of his ultimate. But they're not gonna change so much and make it so fucking different and drastic.
On a side note, I must have been really lost every time it came to damn Akali, because when I finally took a look at her, I never knew that her Shroud made her do a little dash or a little.
They when they did the Assassin rework last year, that's when that happened. They did that in the beginning of Season 7. Before that, it never did that dash. It only happened at the beginning of Season 7.
I thought so, because that shit was weird when I tried to hit that bitch with my hook, and then when I actually landed my hook over the wall, I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was a good little change though. But just that's my only point that I have about this. There's a lot of reworks that they've done right. There's a lot of reworks that they fucked up. But it's just make sure that you're paying attention to the people that need it. Because even looking at Aatrox versus someone like Urgot is completely fucking different. Completely fucking different. The only thing that Urgot still kind of has is his Q, which was kind of like his old E, but not really, but kind of. But he's completely fucking different, and all for the better. Does he play like the old one? No. So a lot of people that love the old one, yeah, they were pissed. But they opened it up so that a lot more people would play him and he'd be a lot more enjoyable for other people. He went from this weird amalgamation of no one knows what the fuck he is and he's a specialist to being just a ranged juggernaut. New Aatrox went from being your typical fucking diver to they're calling him a skirmisher fucking juggernaut hybrid, and we don't know yet because they haven't come out with a full classification yet. He might be a diver that just has more skirmishing elements than normal. He might be a hybrid warrior where he has a lot of juggernaut elements and a lot of fucking diver elements to make him feel more like a bit of a Shyvana. She's a diver, but she's a diver that's she's a juggernaut, but she's a juggernaut that has diver aspects. A lot of things could happen with this character. It's just a factor of people have been very vocal about it. This has probably been one of the because of the times that league is going through right now, especially with season 8 with all the changes that they've been throwing out, people have been the most vocal about changes now than they've ever been. That's why everybody's been talking about people that are leaving and why leagues dying. It's some of the biggest change that's ever been with. So it's just something that they need to think about in general as they continue to do these bigger releasing less champions, since there's a shit ton of champions they can go back and fix and make better. Because I swear to God, if they make another fucking Shen rework as bad as they did that last Shen rework, I'ma fucking scream. Because that shit was just dumb.
Shen,
And that's the
I
shit
think
that they need to
Shen
avoid.
is not as simple as it used to be. I actually like the rework that they did for him.
I like the rework if the Q wasn't as fucking dumb and clunky.
Well,
The
he's a
W's
clunky
cool.
champion.
Yeah, he wasn't clunky before.
Yes, he was.
No,
He was
just
just so
one-dimensional.
simplistic. He was
Right,
just so
but
simplistic that people just
simplistic isn't clunky.
thought it. He was so
Simplistic
clunky.
isn't. He wasn't clunky.
He felt
He
like
had a dash.
when you play him, it felt like you were just doing whatever until you actually start to be a tank.
Yeah, but that's not clunky. Clunky makes it. Clunky means that when I'm hitting this ability, it doesn't feel like I'm hitting this ability. Clunky is when you're trying to throw a left punch, and you didn't throw the left punch right, and you're like, "What the fuck? I thought I did this, but you did this."
But then you definitely wasn't playing Shin back then because that taunt, then you felt like you was doing anything. You'll go by somebody that did it hit, then like a half a second later, then they start coming towards you. I'm like, okay.
Okay, well then I'll admit that that's a
Clunky.
fucked up. I'll admit that that's more buggy than clunky because it's about the factor that they weren't really fixed. They didn't fix the hitbox, and there were probably bugs in it, and they got the bugs out of it. But the whole factor is, you don't have a clunky character and then give him a new ability that just feels just as clunky, dude. Because his old Q wasn't clunky. If you're saying his E used to be clunky and they fixed his E, but then they replaced his old functioning Q with a clunky Q, it's kind of stupid. Me and you even talked about this. There's plenty of fucking easy ways to fix the Q. It's cool that they have the dynamic of,
There's
hey,
plenty
it's
of
on the
ways to
fucking
fix the
ground.
champion.
Right, but League also came out and specifically said that they didn't feel happy with the way that they launched it, and they admit that it feels clunky. That's the type of shit that I'm talking about. Where, why would you push something out when you clearly admit it's not ready, and you're not happy with it, and you don't know
Because they
why you
trying
did it?
to amuse
They failed on
the
a
damn,
QA testing aspect of
because they
that.
still trying to amuse the damn community. And I'm saying this is a whiny ass community. I wouldn't be catering to y'all motherfuckers at all.
It's not about.
Not one bit.
It's not about catering to a fucking community. It's not. It's simple. League did a lot of shit in the background. Everybody was whining about replays. Everybody was whining about new client. Everybody was whining about a bunch of things. And League was quiet for a while, and then eventually just dropped all that shit, and it made a crap ton of people happy. And then all they've been doing is talking. It's not about people being whiny. It's about, hey, you got a bunch of people that are complaining about a bunch of different fucking champions right now. How many people were saying, why the fuck hasn't Malphite gotten a goddamn visual update? Why hasn't the Mumu got a visual update? There's a bunch of shit like that. It's not that. It's the fact that they put out a list and they straight up said, these are the people on our list. Hey, Amumu's on it. Hey, Malphite's on it. And these are the people that we are looking at and trying to find a kit for that fits. And when we find one that fits, we will definitely put it. But we want to make sure that it's going to fit and it's going to work. And that's the point. Everybody complained about Aatrox, and they straight up said last year, hey, we got something. And we're going to polish it and make sure it's going to work correctly. That stops all the whining. If you just communicate and let me know that you're working on it, that you're doing it, and that you're gonna fix it.
And I kind of
Because
gotta
not
go
too
back to
long
the
ago-
whining.
Come on.
It's
But-
not. It's not.
That's
There's nothing
not-
wrong.
But that's not the case all the time though, because even with half the champions, they'd be like, "Hey, y'all should make them." Be like, "Hey, we have a champion that we about to release. We really like them. We're going to release them. Okay, where the champion? 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 Your league. So where the champion? That is the reason why we don't have our shit now. We don't have our shit because we have a whiny ass fucking community that couldn't wait.
We don't have Al Shin, not because people couldn't wait. We don't have Al Shin because they didn't have the technology to actually do what they wanted to do with it.
That
They
had
do
nothing to
now.
do with the fans. The fans don't create the champ. It's Riot's responsibility if they announce the champ to go ahead and create it. If they couldn't create it or they couldn't push it out, that's a shortcoming on their end.
Right.
And
It's
Okay,
like
and
but
it's like with video
but
games in
but that's
general.
the thing.
Don't tell me that
Like
you're
they
going to release it in
it's a
2 years, but
shortcoming.
it's going to take
It's
you
a
4 years.
shortcoming on their end that the community is going to complain. Is going to complain, bitch, and moan 24/7 until they get what they want. Hey, y'all
No,
can't do it. Well, find a way to do it because we
no,
want it. Do it
no,
now.
no. That's
It
not
is
it. No,
because
that's not it.
how many
No,
times has
that's
that
not it.
happened?
Because here's the
How
problem
many
with Al
times has that
Shin.
happened
No,
already though?
no. Here's the problem with Al Shin. Did anybody tell Riot to release something to be a precursor to say, hey, we're going to make this Dragon Champion? No. They didn't have to build all that hype up around a fucking Dragon Champion. They didn't have to do any of that shit at all.
They didn't build on hype up. Everybody else made the
They
hype, and they started
no
making
no
connections.
no no no. They built the hype up
it's
because they
How?
said we're
it's
going
the
to
No
make
Man's
this
Sky.
thing.
It's a No
It's
Man's
the
Sky
same. It's the
argument.
same thing with Dragon. It's the same thing with Dragon Master Swain. The community said, "Hey, it would be cool if you made a Dragon Master Swain skin." Did Riot sit there and say, "That's a really good idea. We're gonna make a Dragon Master Swain skin"? No. So it's okay when the community bitches and says, "You guys should make this skin. You guys should make this skin," because when they finally release it, everybody says, "Yes, they listened to us. Yes, they made it. Yes, that's fucking awesome."
And
But if
that's what
Riot
makes people
says
come
we're
back.
going to make it, and then it takes them 5 years to fucking make it, and they go quiet about it, that's what pisses people off. Don't tell me you're doing something, but then you don't give me an actual date on, hey, we think we can get it done in 2 years. Don't tell me you can do something in 90 days and it takes you a
They
year.
never,
I'm gonna
and that's the
fucking
thing.
smack you.
And once again, they never get in the
They
beginning. They
done
never
that.
give a time frame. They never give a time frame. They say, "Hey, we got something that we really like. That we think is gonna be nice for the game. We're gonna release it. We're
And
gonna release it. It's
but
like
but the
at one
problem
point in
was
time.
but the problem was when people asked, "Hey, so what's the update on it?" Riot didn't say anything. If they would have said, "We're still working on it. It's a little bit more difficult than we first thought," people would have said, "Oh, okay." Because I'll give you a perfect example of what's going on right now. Remember, a while ago, Riot said, "Hey, we're looking at changes for Lissandra's fucking passive because we know everybody's not satisfied with her passive and she needs some buffs and some changes." Everybody's like, "Yay, Lissandra's gonna get changed." And then they went quiet on it. And then everybody said, "What's going on?" And what's been happening is Riot Meddler, he's been sitting there and saying, "Hey, we are doing changes on it. We're still doing it. We had to icebox it and push it back a little bit because we just did all these changes for mid-season. So that took priority." Guess what that does? That makes everybody says, "Oh, that makes sense. You did make a lot of changes right now. I can
And
wait
there's still people
because you're
asking about that.
communicating."
And there's
Right.
still people
But
asking about that
they
change.
ask whenever they're doing updates. And then the moment they tell us we pushed it back because this took priority, people say, "That's understandable. I
People
got
don't.
you. I'll
People
ask
don't say
next
that's.
time."
People don't. Say, that's
People
the, and
do.
that's what I'm telling you. People don't say that it's understandable because they still talking about it and still bitching and moaning about, "Hey, what will happen to that Lissandra change?" To this day, if you go on the client right now, go on the forum right now, they will. I guarantee you, there will be an update
And those are
no
some
less than
people,
2 weeks.
and there's a lot of people that don't read what the fuck Riot posts, so they don't know, and then they end up deciding to be ignorant. But for all the people that actually sit there and they read all that shit and they go look for those answers and they find those answers, those are the people that actually sit there and say, "You know what? That's responsible," because that's what a responsible company does. And if you have people that bitch and cry and moan after a company's been responsible and done everything that they're supposed to do, obviously we know that we're not going to be able to get rid of all the whiners in the fucking world. That's impossible. That's not
All
the
right,
point of the
and
argument.
that
That's
and
not the
that's
point of the
exactly
argument.
and that was that's what I originally was saying. They are catering to the whiny little bitches that don't understand how a company works. They
But
are
they're doing
catering
it.
to motherfuckers that don't
But
read
but
updates.
they're not. But they're not
They
catering to the
are.
people. They're not. If they
How?
were, they'd be in a much
They
worse situation because they
They're
they
wouldn't be
be in the,
doing the changes that they do every two
and
weeks
that's the
they're
thing.
because
doing
They'll
they
their
be
can
in the,
just
best to
focus on doing
they'll
what
attempt.
be
they
in a
want.
they'll be in a lot worse of a situation, but this situation is still due to them being like, okay, we're going to definitely do this for y'all. They didn't have to push out half the champions that they pushed out, but they did it because whiny little bitches.
But
They didn't have to
No,
make
they're
they
some
making
didn't.
an
They
the
didn't.
attempt to
They
changes
they're
didn't.
on
making
the
an
They didn't.
attempt
account
to
They didn't
because
improve
make
the
a
of
game.
champion.
whiny little
They didn't
bitches.
make a champion every 3 weeks in the past because they were catering to people. They made a champion every 3 weeks in the past because they were just pushing out content because they wanted to load the game up with content.
I didn't
They
say
come out.
I didn't say they was constantly pushing out champions. I was saying some of the champions that they pushed out was pushed out because of whiny little bitches. They didn't have to be released
Give
But
me an
here's
at
where the
example.
every
problem
time.
Give
comes
me an
in.
example.
Here's where oh no.
Give me an example.
Problem is that, the problem is that well, that is the main topic of the story today, and that's Aatrox. He had to be released. They didn't have a
People weren't
real
asking
idea of
for
what they
Aatrox.
wanted to do with him. And then look at Aurelion Sol. Yes, that was a good concept, but was it supposed to be? No. Alshin
Again.
could have easily been today's time. Alshin could have easily been pushed out.
If
Could
Al
easily
Shin
be
could have been
a
pushed out,
release
then they'd be
restriction.
They
working.
would
If
do
Al
it.
Shin could be pushed out right now, then they'd be working on Al Shin
We
right
can't
now.
make the assumption that they pushed out one champ just because they could, just because the community pressured them. If they wanted to make a champion, if they wanted to make a champ, and they wanted to push out Aoshin, they knew they had a timeline. They can give a reasonable timeline. I'd like to think that they would have given us a reasonable timeline, but obviously they released Aurelion Sol because they knew they could not deliver what they promised. And them trying to cater to their core fan base, and sorry to say, a lot of the people who play League don't understand development process. We may understand development process, because we work within particular industries that have more to do with development processes. But to the typical gamer, all they see is other people are pushing out more content all the time. Other people are doing content. Guild Wars, for example, has a continuous living story. They have constant content. So other games are pushing out this content. Why can't you guys do it, Riot? It's not, the expectation is higher, but you got to think about it. Riot set that expectation. Every time they pushed out new updates, every time they promised an update or promised a feature or promised a champ, they set those expectations. Now they have to live to them.
Right.
And
It's
they
like
have
with
to pacify their core fan base, because unfortunately Riot does deal in the creation of video games. They don't use banking software. They don't use they operate systems that people need. They only continue to make money. They only continue to have jobs because they make their fans happy. The fans fund the game, not the other way around.
Not only that, but it's the same thing me and you were talking about earlier with the whole fucking No Man's Sky situation. When you promise all these things and you hype shit up so much,
You
when you
deliver.
allow that hype to build from talking about it and from making a promise, even if it's a small ass fucking promise, even if the small promise is, hey, we're gonna implement a replay system. Don't promise me something and then be quiet about it. And recently, Riot has not been quiet.
Star
which is
Citizen
why
got that problem.
Right, which is why when
13-year
Riot's
game.
not quiet, people are satisfied as long as those people are actually listening to those answers.
That's the
People
same
are
thing with
satisfied.
anything in life, though. Like with
Right.
work, if
You're
someone
not going to be able to satisfy everybody, but the factor is, they said, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is the time frame we're going to do it. For the people that are satisfied because they understand it, they're quiet. For the people that aren't, they're not.
people
But are they
like to
gonna
be
fucking
people
run out?
like to be in
And
the
that is
loop.
and that is a limited amount of the community.
But that's not a limited amount of community. If that were the case, then they could easily ignore those. But obviously, people want them to be transparent.
You know what I'm
Anywhere you
saying? Most of
go,
the
people want
most of
transparency.
the community don't actually read them damn things, and I don't care what anybody say. Like they really don't.
But you gotta think
Because
about
half the questions that they have, wouldn't need to be a thing if they just listen to what the hell the developers
But you
are
gotta
saying.
think of it outside of the case of a video game. If you were to not get information on what's coming next from your job, or the other way around, if you were working on a project and you said, hey, nothing for weeks, people would be like, where the fuck are you on this project? People aren't going to sit around and wait for it. They're going to ask you, where are you on this? Because
Yeah,
people
but that's
need
the
to
thing.
have control. They
And
need to
half
have
of those
some
questions
control.
was already answered. They just not paying attention.
Which questions, though?
It could be any question. Like it could be questions about, hey, what's going on with a visual update? What's going on with a champion? With a new release on a champion? What's going on with a rework?
If they
Anything,
gave,
anything
the
that's
other thing is
anything that's
people-
going on at that time and point. Yes, there will be a selective. It will be some of the community that are actually listening to it. But then again, there are those who do not listen to anything that they say. It's some of those that don't even read what the hell's going on. Some people don't even know what the hell's going on in the patch notes that are on what's going on in the, current with the game. Like,
Right, and again,
I mean, when you have 3 pages of patch notes, that's a fucking news article. No one wants to sit and listen to 3 pages of scrolled patch
okay,
notes.
but still, that's not excusable for that. That's not inexcusable when it comes to
It's a video game.
somebody trying to do something.
Is it,
Like,
right, again,
if you're not reading what's going on, you're not reading what's going on. That's not the problem with the developers. They told you what was going to happen. They said that
But that's
hey,
where the
it's
problem
going to
is.
take a while for this to happen.
A lot of
But
times,
again,
a lot of
there are
times
those
they don't.
motherfuckers.
A lot of
But
times
that's the
Riot is
reason why they're
really
not catering to
vague.
those people.
They
Well,
still
no,
be
no,
kidding.
no. Recently, they haven't been vague. In the past 2 years, they've been
Recently,
pretty fucking. But I'm saying, in the past 2, 3 years, they've been pretty fucking open about shit. Yeah, they've been around for 8, 9 years. So for the vast majority of them in the beginning, they weren't. But recently, they've been pretty fucking. Well, not recently, but like I said, the past 2, 3 years, they've been fine when it comes to
they've been
communication.
more transparent, but
Right. But all the people that are gonna still complain for the sake of complaining, they're not catering to those people. Because again, if they were catering to those people, we wouldn't have any of the fucking changes that just happened this whole entire season. We wouldn't have the crazy
Well,
shit that just happened with the fucking 80 carries or the
and
shit
that's
that
what,
happened to the
and
major
that's fine. And I'm
or the
not
death
saying
of the
anything.
tank
I'm not
battle.
saying that anything about. I ain't saying anything about right now. Right now, yes, I applaud them for that shit. But I'm saying in the past, some of the shit doesn't need they won't have to need rework. Some of the things, the changes that they made, we didn't have to make the changes. They made themselves have to make these changes. Some of the stuff that had to be changed, they did it to themselves because they was catering to a bunch of whiny ass bitches.
but
Now
what
you created your own
changes?
problem.
What changes did they cater to? That's the thing. The changes they made were core gameplay. They made a lot of core gameplay changes,
Yes,
and
recently,
there's a pattern too. I don't know if you guys
recently.
recognize. There's a pattern. Games have been getting shorter. They're making the gameplay faster. So they're trying to make it so that you get more games in the same amount of time that it will take you to play one or two games. So the fact is they're catering to the core community, it looks like, versus the whining people. And
Yes,
if the majority
and
of
that
their com-
and that's
if the
recently
majority of their
though.
community are
So then
whiners,
again, like
that's
we asked
an
before,
issue with the
give us
community.
a change that they did in the past to cater to people. What change did they make in the past? Any one change that they made in the past
That they were
to
pressured
cater to
for.
whiny people?
They made a
What
lot of
change?
changes in the past for people. They made changes to Shaco because people didn't we don't like the range on it we don't like the range on his little we don't
So
like
you
the
mean
range
nerf?
on his the shit.
They
It
took
You
doesn't
mean
into
matter.
the
nerf?
It's still a
fact
change.
they
So
took
it's a
into
nerf. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's still a change that they had to make because of the community.
But they took into the fact
Community
that
didn't like
that's
it.
not a community thing. That's a broken thing. If they see if a
If it-
champ is broken and the community says this champ is
What
broken,
what makes it broken? If you can play what makes it broken? The only way I can see it as something being really broken, if you play that champion 100 times and you win 100 times with that champion because of that one ability, there is technically nothing in the game that is that broken. People just complain or just
whoa,
whining little bitches.
wait, let's
Well,
let's let's be real.
again,
When has League of Legends been balanced ever? It's
That's true.
never been balanced. It's been a
But it's
constant
not something
struggle of
but it's not something that's broken. People get tilted, but it's not something that's broken.
no, it is.
it's
Master
not.
Yi,
It's not
you can
about.
say
It's
you can
not
say
about.
all
It's
you can
not
say
about
all
people. It's
day.
not
You
about
can say
people
all
getting
day that
tilted.
Master Yi is broken. You can
It's
say
not.
all day that Master Yi is
It's
broken.
not. It's
But
not
can
about
you
people getting tilted. You're a mathematician. It's about statistics. When they make
okay,
those changes, they use statistics. They use
okay,
statistics
and
from game data to decide on if they're going to make changes
yeah,
or not.
exactly. It's based on statistics, and nothing says that it's 100%. There's nothing in the game that's
We're
100%.
not.
For
We're
you
not
Riot
broken,
asking.
this
themselves
game
have
is
admitted
100%.
We're not
I'm
asking
going
for
to win.
100%.
I
They're not
play this champion.
asking.
I'm going
They're
to
not
win.
asking for 100%. If they were making changes only based on things being 100%, then nothing in this game would have ever been changed.
but
That's not the
in my what
statistic
I'm
they're
and
using.
that's what I'm saying is if something is broken, isn't it finite? Doesn't that mean if I play the champion, I'm going to win?
no,
No,
that means that if you get to a
that
certain
means.
skill level in a champ, that it is impossible to beat sometimes.
Do you even know
That's
the
some.
statistic? Do you know the statistic that League tries to run off of to basically say something's balanced and something's fair? Because you can't have the argument if you don't even know what the hell what they're basing it off of. Because
All
they want
right.
everything to
So
be
you
around
guys, you
fifty
since it
percent.
was your argument, you tell me what they're basing it on.
They want things to be around 50%. So when win rates and stupid
Nothing is
things start to
50%.
get too up,
There's nothing that's 50%. 50% is just as hard as saying something's gonna be
Nah,
100%.
if you go to
no,
KRBB,
it's not.
you can see this. You can see
It
the
is.
win rate percentages for champs.
Right.
Nothing is 50-50. Nothing
I'm
is
not.
100.
I'm not.
It's not a
Again,
50-50.
I
It's
didn't.
So
I
get as
once
didn't
close
again,
as you
that
say.
can
I
to
like
it.
didn't.
there
I
are so that,
said. I said they want it to be close to 50%.
If a
They
champ is
try to
winning all
base
the
it
time,
around 50%. So basically, when you start getting shit that looks way above 50, so 60 or up, That's when they feel like it needs to be nerfed because they feel like it's winning too often.
And not
Through
even that.
all play.
You remember
Through
Riot?
bronze all the way the fuck up to master and challenger. If they're noticing a trend where something is way above 50 or way below 50, they either want to buff it because it's too weak and it's too low, or nerf it because it's too high. That is the general basis on what they go off of. I can't tell you if that's right or wrong, but that's what they do, and that's why they nerf and they buff
But
things. And
Riot
for the most part,
themselves.
it's a good thing because for the most part, there's a bunch of changes that they make that are for the better. There are
So,
mechanics that end up feeling too broken because you might think that it's not as broken. You might think that it's not as busted. But as you also need to remember, there are people that master and can exploit those broken things. And you have to also remember that you are still silver. So when you see people that can end up fucking using that and abusing the living shit out of it, kind of like the boosting strat right now, can everybody make the boosting strat work? No. But is the boosting strat enough of an annoyance that it needs to be changed for what it gets the fuck up? Yes, and that's the point. It doesn't matter if you agree with that statistic. It's what the overall community agrees with that statistic.
and
The
once
overall
community,
community
here this
agrees
thing
with
with the
that.
community again.
But here's
Right,
what.
So
Here's the thing:
but
is Riot's
but
already
again, they're
admitted.
going to listen to their community because every video game company listens to their community,
and
whether
they
it's
end up
fighting
fucking
games,
themselves in
whether
the
it's
ass because
MOBAs.
of it.
No, they either listen to their community or they go out of business and not have jobs.
Right. So
There's
what I want you
there's
to do is I
companies
want you
who've
to make
shut
a
down
company
because
where
they make
you
shit
only do what you
games.
want to do, and you let me know how that works when you make something where you only do what you want to do.
Okay,
Okay,
so
Because the
all
other
right, so
thing is,
all right,
why
all
it's
right, all
not
right,
one
all right,
person.
all
Why
right, then
it's
tell
a
me
bunch
this:
of
can
people
y'all
that
Darnell,
come
honestly,
to
can
agree
can
y'all
with
you
it.
play
honestly sit here,
Paragon right
can
now?
y'all, can y'all honestly sit here and say that they did not shoot themselves in the foot with a lot of the stuff they wanted to do for the community?
No.
If y'all can honestly sit there and tell me that, my argument's done.
They're a long-lasting game company. They've obviously done
I'm asking one
right
question.
because the community's still there. If the community's still there, look at Paragon. Look at fucking the game the Master X Master from NCSoft. Games get shut down when you don't listen to community. That was not a money thing. That was a
Okay,
community not being listened to. They lost their players.
okay,
And Riot makes money off the players. It's not like they're
okay,
making money off of anything but the
Darnell, to
people.
answer your question,
okay.
to
Okay,
answer,
once again, you could honestly sit here and say that Riot did not shoot themselves in the foot because of them listening to the community, correct?
Yes.
yeah, I can say they
I can
haven't
say it confidently.
because if they did, they wouldn't exist right now.
Yeah.
If they did, they wouldn't be the technically
Once
Fortnite
again,
beat them, but they wouldn't be the
once
second
again,
most fucking
still
played
other
game in the
changes.
world right now.
So so right now you're making it black and white. Then you're saying because they're still in the game, that doesn't mean they didn't make some
No, I'm not
mistakes.
making it
Because
black and white. I'm
all right,
saying because they're
It is.
still at the
so
top.
once again,
I said because they're still at the top.
did they or did they not make some stupid mistakes based off of, hey, we're going to do this for the community?
I think they
Did
made
they make
stupid
Did
mistakes
they
off of
make
what they
some?
thought was
Yeah.
better for
Did
the
they make the
community.
majority? No. Did they make some? Yes, because everybody makes some.
And I wasn't arguing. I wasn't arguing all. I was arguing some. That's all I said. They
Your
made some
argument
stupid
didn't sound
mistakes
like some.
because
But
of
y'all
they
gotta
made some stupid mistakes because of the community.
y'all
So
remember
Your
that
argument didn't
Riot
my
sound
also
like
so
some.
said that Riot also said they said themselves they they focus on champs that are not played. Some champs that are not played enough, they also go and change those champs if they're not played enough.
yeah,
They've
they
said
not played.
this in
That's fine.
interviews.
That's fine.
So
If they not played, that's fine because they drastically need something. They of course they need something.
Right, but just so you know, the argument that you made didn't sound like you were saying some.
the argument you made
When
is
I
that the
said
communities
when
they
I
cave into whiny bitches and they are ruining or some kind of way ruining things based on whiny bitches. It's not that's not the case though. They've made maybe some mistakes because of pressure for on them from the game community, but that's their mistakes. That's not the game community's mistakes. That's their mistakes. They're interpreting. No one's telling them specifically do this change, and they're saying I'm gonna do this exact change. People are saying this is not good. Fix it. And if they fixed it the wrong way, that's on Riot. That's not on the whiny community. It's their jobs, their livelihoods are based off of can you make this game entertaining for me?
Right, and not only that, there's a perfect example of that. People say Nunu's boring. People say Nunu needs a buff. People say Nunu needs to be a better champion. What did they do? Let's give Blood Boil a 40% AP ratio boost. Does that necessarily make Nunu better? No, that
Makes him
made
stronger.
Nunu broken for a small period of time. So it is a change that the community asked for. It is a change that Riot implemented kind of fucking crappy. Again, that is agreed upon. But the argument you made it sound like, as Van said, or as Aeon said, you're demolishing or you're destroying whatever the fuck you had. So if your argument is they made some stupid mistakes based on because people wanted them to make changes, yeah. But again, that's everything. Everything's gonna work that way.
That's them
Everybody
not
wants
thinking on their
change.
toes.
That's supply and demand. I'm going to want you to do things, so you need to figure out how to do the things I want if you want me to pay for this and you want me to continue to give you money.
And if
If
you
you're
do it
able to
wrong,
figure
that's
out
not
how
on
to
me.
give that to
all,
That's
me
on
in a
you.
good way,
basically,
yeah,
and all I was
you're
saying,
not.
and all I was saying was that they shot themselves in the foot a lot of times with that shit. Now, are they gonna stop doing it? Of course, they're not gonna stop doing it. It's a
Right,
company.
but the
You
thing
gotta
that,
make your money.
but again,
But
when you
did
say
they
they
do
shot
the stupid
themselves,
shit?
but
Yes, the
again,
shit was stupid, and nobody's not gonna sit here and tell me that what they did was not stupid.
I mean,
Catering to a community that doesn't even know what they want completely
well,
is
the
not the smartest
community,
idea. Now, are they gonna do it? Yes. Is some of the changes that the community chose
you can't say
were
the community doesn't.
educated?
You can't
Yes.
say the
they've
community
made
doesn't
plenty
know
of
what they
changes
want.
the community did not want. I don't think people
That's
really
true.
wanted what they did with the fucking runes. What they did with the runes broke some champs. It made some champs completely fucking useless in some aspects. So you can't really say that they're shooting themselves. I mean, you can probably say it, but it goes both
Once again you're
ways.
making it sound like I said everything.
Well, then stop being vague and be more
I
direct.
didn't say. I'm pretty sure I said. I'm pretty sure I'm
When
putting
you
it in terms
when
that
you
are
say the
not
word
vague.
when you say shot
Sometimes
themselves in the
this
foot, it kind of implies that they're making larger
and what
mistakes
did I say, and
based
once
on
again, did I say
players.
they shot themselves in the foot with a lot of the changes? I said they shot themselves in the foot with some of the changes. Some. Once again, not vague.
But that's the thing. The argument was on the blame. I thought the argument was on who was to blame for that. That again is not because they are catering to people who are whining. That is because Riot got it wrong. That's on Riot. If I say do something about this, I'm not telling them specifically what to do. If they interpret that wrong and they fuck up, that's nothing to do with how the community told them to do it. The community does not tell you to fuck up the game. The community would never
And
say
that
fuck up the game. The community said fix this, make this better for us. And if they didn't make it better, they have to go back to the drawing board themselves. That's not them being rushed. If they felt as though they were being rushed, hire more people. If they feel as though they're being rushed, hey guys, we need a little bit more time on this. They are big boys. There's no one sitting there with a gun to their heads saying, make that fucking change now, bruh. They have to do what's gonna make the community happy. They don't have to push out shit changes. And if they do push out shit changes, that's their fault. That's developers, that's designers, those are the people that work at Riot because no member of this shitty community can fuck up this game because we don't own the development company. We don't own those changes. So
And
yeah,
that's
they
the point
shot
we're trying to
themselves in the
make.
foot, but they shot themselves in the foot. End of sentence. It's not they shot themselves in the foot because they
Because
were
of the
catering to
community.
whiny bitches. Because gaming
if I
is
make a
whiny
change
bitches.
that if you
Gaming
make a
in
change
general.
that you didn't if you made a change that you didn't want to make, but you made it because you wanted to make somebody happy, that is cause and effect. That means that the reason why the change was made was
Difference.
because you were
You're not
trying to
making
cater
it.
to
You're
somebody
not
else.
making no difference. You're not making it to make somebody happy. You're making it to make the people that are playing your game and the people that are
Continue
giving
to
your
play your
money
game.
to continue to play your game and make you money. That is different. If
And
I am catering to you for no
now we
fucking benefit, I'm
Now
stupid. If
you're
I'm,
just splitting hairs. Because if
I'm not
you're
splitting
playing the
hair. I'm
game,
not
you're
splitting
playing it
hairs.
because you just said that you're not making the game to make somebody. You're not making the changes to make somebody happy, but you're making the changes to keep the people playing the game. How they playing the game? They playing the game because they enjoy it. If they enjoy the game, that means there's something
Right.
that they
So
like.
it's
So
right. So
you're
if there's
making a
something that
change
people, so if
based
there's
off of
something that
something
people
that they
don't
want
like,
or what they like
so if there's something that
to
people don't
keep them
like in
playing the
this game,
game.
and I
So
don't, if
that
there's
was
something
splitting
that
But the
people
hairs.
problem
don't,
is people
if
would
there's
not play
something
a
that
game
people
that
don't like in this game, and I'm not changing it to make it better, people will stop playing the game, and
because
I
it's
will lose my
stagnant.
player
People
base.
want new
So
content.
you're changing it to make make that that demographic happy.
But that's how gaming works in general. Gaming works is you give new
Yeah,
Basically,
content to
what you're
players.
arguing is
basically what I'm
basically what
saying.
you're
Well,
arguing is the basic structure of all this is stupid.
say that again.
So basically, what you're arguing is the basic structure of all this is stupid.
I don't think I was saying y'all made it more than what it was. What I said was some of the changes that Riot made was because of the community, and some of those changes were stupid. And because of that, they shot themselves in the foot and made their stuff have to change certain aspects.
But that's
They
where I'm not
basically
seeing
back-
the link. I'm not
They
seeing the link
isn't
from
basically
the
that-
Batman
community.
themselves. They
Right, but
created
my
it.
question is this. But my
That's like
question
how
is this.
Batman creates
Isn't that the
his
point?
own enemies.
Isn't that the
They
point?
create their own problems with
Isn't
some
that
of these
the point?
changes.
Isn't that the point? To make changes for the people that play the game that want those changes. Isn't that the point?
The point is to keep the game going for as long as possible, so that you can have people.
So how do you
that
do
can play
that?
in the
So how do you
so,
do
yeah.
that? So how do you
But
do
at
that?
the same time, if they're making decisions, and you're listening to them, and that is counterproductive to you and your company, then you're shooting yourself in the foot.
How's
how
it
do you do it?
counterproductive at that point? They have to keep the gameplay fresh because otherwise people will get bored with it.
No one
That's-
saying anything about not keeping the gameplay fresh. Of course, we gotta keep the gameplay
That's what
fresh.
So
changes.
how do you do it?
If you don't change things, then you don't keep the gameplay fresh. It stays stagnant. A game without updates is a game that is standing still.
No,
So they
I
have to
don't
make
remember
updates.
I don't remember me saying anything about not making changes to the game at all.
So again, how do you do it?
How could they make a change that does not involve?
I never said anything about how to make these changes. The only thing I said was some of the shit that they made was stupid.
Right.
That's
So
it.
if you're gonna bring up the point and you're
Then
gonna
where's the
bring up the point
alternative?
as an argument, right? That's the point. What do you do then? Don't bring up a point if you don't have an answer to the
Half
fucking
the stuff
question.
that
if
we
you don't
bring
have
up,
something to go
half
on.
of the stuff that we bring up don't have a solution. It's just
You're supposed to
is it
propose a
cool or
solution.
not? So
You propose a solution.
that was a finite thing. That's it. It was just that. There was nothing else to get out of it. It was just did Riot mess themselves up? Yes. Do I have a way to fix that? No, I don't work for the company. Nor do I care how they fix it because I'm not getting paid to fix their problems.
I think that
So,
Riot,
no.
like, I personally think that as long as Riot continues down the road of like making
Yeah.
sure their players are happy first and foremost, they can continue to make mistakes and still not lose people.
course.
They've made a shitload of mistakes and people know that Riot will fix it because they fix it. And people are going to continue to pressure them to improve the gameplay on aspects they think are not good, and that's what's going to keep Riot making those changes. But as long as Riot doesn't make fucking mistakes, they should be okay. If Riot makes mistakes, then they have to fix those mistakes. That has no blame on the community. I think the whole issue with this argument is that the blame it shifted from the community is full of whiny bitches who are like making Riot do these bad changes to Riot shot themselves in the foot. Riot, no one's making Riot do anything. They're telling Riot fix these things or change these things. No one's making them go about the way they're doing it. People were saying if anyone was saying fix Aatrox, no one told them to make Aatrox into Riven and give him Frieza lips. No, they
That's
came
true.
up with Frieza lips and Riven.
All right, but take put this as an example. Use this as an example. A child wants their parents to come to one of their parents to come to their game. They can't make it at that time because of work. Now they want them to come. They want them to come, and they apply them to come for many days. Now they finally get it. Now the day finally come. Is the game? Is their game? Parent could not get off of work. So what they do? They're gonna try to work and try to rush from work to get to the game. They get into an accident because they was rushing. They got into an accident because they was rushing to get to the child's game. Is it the child's fault?
That's not on the child.
No. Of course, it's not on the child. But
So no.
they wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for the fact that the child egging them on to do that. They're not
But
gonna blame on the child.
Wait,
of course not. They're not
you
gonna
can't
blame
say
on
it's
the
not
child.
the child's fault, but still try to put blame on the child for egging them on. That's the difference. You can't
And that's the
place
overall point
blame.
that we're
I'm
trying
not
to make.
paying no blame. Oh, I'm not paying no blame on the community. I'm just saying that you know what your community is. Don't listen to them. Sorry, but sometimes you can't listen to them. Sometimes yes, all the time no.
If they don't listen to their community,
But they
they end
don't
up
listen
like
to them
Paragon
all
and
the
Master X
time.
Master.
We're not saying that they listen to them all the time. We acknowledge that
I'm
they
not,
listen
and
to
I'm
them
not saying that they are
sometimes.
either.
And
I'm
but
not saying that
again,
they listen to the community all the time, but I am saying that some of the times that they did listen were not good. Some of the times that they did listen worked out.
They're supposed to listen to their community regardless. If their community says they want more content, it's the way they go about doing it though that they probably fuck up on.
right, and that's the point of the argument that we're trying to get to. At the end of the day, they have to listen to the community. What
Of
they
course, they
decide
have to
to
listen to
do,
it.
right, but what they decide to do with that is up to them. So it's not necessarily the community's fault. And that's the point that we're trying to make. The way that you said your argument or the way that you said your piece,
Of
you
course, it's
said your
not. Of
fact.
course, it's not the community fault. They're not the ones developing the
Well,
game.
again,
And what I'm
well,
saying
But
is,
again,
that's the
what
thing.
we're
they're
You
not the
saying,
ones
blamed it on the
developing the
community
what
game.
earlier.
we're
So
letting
you
you
have
know,
no reason.
what we're letting you know is the way you said it made it sound like you were blaming the community. That's all we're letting you
No, I
know.
mean
The
100%.
reason is
Your
direct.
words were because they were catering to whiny bitches. That's still partially placing the blame on the community. That's like saying she was walking down a dark alleyway dressed in provocative clothing.
No, no,
It
no.
definitely is. It's still putting
No,
blame on her. Like maybe you shouldn't have been there. But
that's kind of far left field because one of them we are verbally saying stating something that both sides want. That is just wearing clothing. Wearing clothing doesn't mean anything. That's an expression of self. That doesn't give open. That's not her saying, "Hey,
the
I'm walking down this alleyway. Somebody please touch me,"
the
and
point
then she can
the
touch
point
it.
that
And be
I
like,
was
"No,
making is
no."
that if you make a statement that puts blame on one thing, you can't say that you're not putting blame on that one thing, regardless of how you state it.
That
If you're
that is
saying that
that's
that
reasoning.
you're
That's the that is cause
proxy
and effect. What was the
you're saying
what?
that cause and effect, people have caused Riot to fuck up. No one's
Okay.
causing Riot to fuck
So
up.
all right. So can we all right? So that's what I'm saying. Can we all agree that Riot did make changes based off of what the community wanted? Yes or no?
They do make changes off of what the community wants.
Okay. And can we all agree that some of the changes that the community wanted, that Riot wanted to make for the community, were fuck ups?
That's on potential. All those changes had potential to be amazing changes. It's on
Okay, they had
Riot to
potential,
not fuck up.
but I'm not arguing the potential. I'm arguing
The reality.
what happened. So what happened was, did Riot made changes based off of what the community wanted. Some changes that the community wanted, and some of those changes were fuck ups. Now, am I putting the y'all saying that I'm putting the blame on them like it was your fault? No, but that is cause and effect. This
That's
happened because I responded to this.
I mean, it's still cause and effect. I mean, if I'm rushing to work, if I'm rushing to a job interview, it's it's not a cause and effect. If I get into a crash, it's I shouldn't have rushed.
Yeah,
It's not a whole thing of Riot making the changes and somebody causing it. No one's causing those
I never
mistakes.
said that. I never said that. I never said that the. I never said that
You
the
said cause and
community
effect, but
caused
no
the.
one's
I never said the
causing
community
the
made these
mistake.
changes. Community were the ones at fault. No, Riot were the ones that made the changes. The community does not have the power to make these changes because, unfortunately, they do not run the company. They're not the ones that are behind the computer, actually punching in code to make sure these things stay on point and stay tight every day after year. Riot are the ones that make those changes. Riot are the ones that actually pour money into the company to make sure that these things stay up and going. But they do make changes based off of what everybody else wanted. So if I'm rushing to work and I get in an accident, it is my fault for rushing to work. Now, if somebody asks me why was I rushing to work that caused this accident, I'm not going to sit there and say, "Oh, I did it because I just wanted to do it." No, I did it because I was rushing to work. So I got in the accident. So I'm the one that got into the accident. The fault is on me. I made the choice to rush. But why did I make that choice to rush? I made
Because
that
you were
choice to
late.
rush because I was trying to get to work.
But that's
Because
still
you
a
were late.
shifting of the blame. That's still a shifting. When you acknowledge that this is the reason for it, you're still shifting and putting some of the blame on it. And
Then that's life
I'm not
then.
saying that that's always the case,
Because
but your original argument was
It's not
that
life. It's not life. It's
was
the way
different.
you word it. Because again, you could say I was rushing to work, or you could say I was running late for work. Because when you say I'm running late for work, that implies
That puts
that
blame on
it's
you.
your fault because you should not be late and you should have scheduled your shit better so that you were not running late. When you
Why?
say I'm rushing
Why?
to work,
Wait.
that
Why are
makes
we
it
splitting?
sound
Why
like
are we splitting hairs again?
It's not
Because
splitting
that's not
hairs.
exactly
That's
what
splitting
I
hairs.
just said.
there's
That's not
a
splitting
complete
hairs.
difference
That's the
between
That's
reason.
exactly what I
taking
just
No,
said.
it's not
responsibility
splitting
and
hairs.
blaming
That's the
others.
point of the English language. It's about the way you say something. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And if
But
you
that is
say
exactly
something,
what I just
if
said, though. You
no,
legit
But
just said
no, because
exactly
the
what I
way
just
that you
said.
said it left it to no, the way you said it left it to left it to complete different interpretation, and that's the problem. When you say
Okay, so I
something
said
and
that
it
you.
leaves
So
it
I said
open
that you
to
get in an accident.
interpretation that goes left, you left it to interpretation that goes left.
Okay, so when I said that they got into an accident, whose fault was it? It was their fault because they were rushing to work,
The
and
question
somebody
is not
asked
whose
for
fault. The question should never have even been whose fault. The problem, even with the if we're going back to the rushing to work thing,
no,
what Matt's trying to make the point is that there, the answer should not be I was rushing to work. The answer should have been I
I
was
was running
late
late.
for work. Is there's a difference between taking responsibility and subtly shifting the blame. Because when you bring something else into it, an external reason or a cause and effect, that cause and effect is still a shift in the blame. And when you're acknowledging that shift in blame, that's what we were talking about. You were in the beginning saying that cause and effect, Riot was forced to do things fast, which made them fuck up and put out bad changes. That is what
sure.
was left to interpretation for us. But if you had said Riot, a lot of times rush things based on the feedback for the community, I think that Riot fucked up. That's putting a little bit more blame on Riot versus they were trying to cater to these whiny little bitches, and because they tried to cater to these whiny little bitches, they fucked up on some things. There's a difference between catering to it's the same thing for like buying someone something. If you're buying someone something and they say, "Hey, I want this particular thing," it's on you on whether you're going to get that particular fucking thing for them. It's not on them cuz you're making that decision. You are.
And once again, I never said that. I never said that it was the community's fault. I
You
said
did.
that
You
they make.
definitely did.
I
I
mean,
mean,
no.
if we go
I
back in the
said that
video, you definitely
because
put blame on the community for some
because
different
You
things.
implied it.
I'm could because
You
I could have
implied it.
sworn that I could have sworn that about 3 minutes ago I actually put out the example saying exactly this.
Yeah,
The
but I'm
community are
saying
not
I'm
the
talking
ones. The
about
community are not the ones behind the
I'm
computer
talking about
and
I'm talking
punching in
about
the code.
the 30 minutes before that when you were
When you
implying that it was
first
the
said it,
community
you
fault.
implied it.
And they're
You might not have
or
meant to imply it, but you
But you
implied
implied
it.
it. And that's what we
no,
were
that's how
going
y'all
based on.
took it. Because obviously, if
That
I'm making the same point
that's
that I'm making
because it
now,
was
that's how y'all
implied.
took it.
That's because that's watch what you say and
So
how you
y'all
say
made
it.
it. So that
Because
means that y'all was. It's not that how it was implied. Y'all just assumed that's what I meant. Because I'm still saying the same point that
because
I'm saying
that's
now.
because that's what
But
we
you're wording
understood
it
from the
differently
way you
now.
say it.
That's
Right.
the
Now
difference.
that you're
Now you're
wording it
wording it
differently, now
differently.
we understand your point. But what you said 30
I'm
minutes
worrying the
ago,
ways for y'all. I'm worrying it the way that y'all saying I should word it.
I just want
But
to
I'm
point out
still
this
having the
went
same
from
point
this
that I
game.
went.
This went from a overall Riot thing to a perception in English language, uh, perception in English language stream, very quickly. Motherfuckers are gonna sit here high eventually, watching this. Is like, so how do I perceive this particular question? Uh, does the
you're gonna
question
have niggas sitting here
change?
looking like you're
Does the
gonna have niggas sitting
change?
here with the Velociraptor on their face like,
Does the
what is
question change based
perception?
on how I see the question? Am I observing this particular system? Does it change because I observe it? Yes, the system does change if you observe the system. That's physics.
Does it?
Yes, it does. I can bring that up for you. Observing a
If a
system
tree falls
does.
into a forest and no one's around to hear it, where are them two birds fucking?
That is, I'm sorry. That confused me.
Exactly.
It wasn't even a proper analogy for that particular analogy that I made, but
The point is
I'm very
perception is important.
yes, perception is very important.
No, what
Perception
I'm
and
saying is
understanding is important. That's
The
why I
only thing I'm
said
saying is,
make it clear.
I think Riot can still, I think, I don't think that the left
I'll be back in a
field
second.
changes. I don't think the left field changes are something that needs to be implied into the game. I think Riot actually knows what the community thinks or what knows exactly what the game needs so that it can continue the way it needs to function.
They can't.
And if they
There's no
actually
way
do
they can
polish,
know what the game needs unless they listen to the players. Because the players, what the game needs is the players. Period.
yes, and I understand that. And
It's
what
not a
I'm saying
story
is,
game.
half the
It's a PvP.
half the time, half the input that was half the things that were put into the game, the community had no say in it. And when it came out, the community loved it anyway. So I'm pretty sure that Riot knows somewhat what they're doing. Like you said, they're big boys. I'm
Riot
pretty
knows
sure
how to
they
make content. Riot does not know what direction the community wants the game to go in until they listen to the community.
okay. But what I'm saying is half the time, I'm not gonna say half. There was a percentage of the time where Riot came out with something. The community had no idea what was going on. The community had no input in it whatsoever. When it was released, everybody loved it, and it worked fairly well.
Not, I
So
mean, you
I'm
got to think.
pretty
Look
so
at it, Earth. Look at Earth like that. Like it comes down to the fact that they can implement something that doesn't mean that people will like it or not. There's no guarantee that people will like a change that Riot makes.
it's no yeah,
There's no
it's no
guarantee.
guarantee.
And
But what I'm
unless
saying
Riot
is,
goes out and listens to people and say, do you like this change or not? They don't know what is good or not based on just them, because what's good to them may not be good to the players, but what's important is good to the players. So even
okay,
if
but
Riot thinks that this needs to be, unless people play that, unless people agree with that and
then
continue to play it,
if that's the case, then why don't they have players, the ones behind the game and development? Since the players know what the players want, then why not have a player there to make them changes?
they do. You've actually seen there's lots actually articles about LCS players and various actual high streamers and players
Yeah,
being
high
brought in
streamers.
to
Well,
give their input.
most of the community are not like high streamers or people that push out content or somebody that's in a professional scene. Most of them
Okay,
are you and me.
There's
So
there's
why not
also
have you
evidence
or
of
me
there's
in
also
there?
evidence of Riot making changes based on what the players have want. There are instances of
So
Riot keeping game modes that people want. There are instances of rid of Dominion. They got rid of Dominion because people didn't play Dominion a lot. No one
yeah,
really played Dominion, and that's why they got rid of Dominion. So to because they knew it
and
wasn't because
and
they
some
wanted to. They knew
and that's
that
the
it
thing. And
wasn't
some people
good.
were still playing Dominion. There were people that were upset about that, but they still continue to play the game.
But the majority of
People
them did
upset
not
about
play
Dominion.
Dominion. The reason they removed it is because not enough people were actually playing it. That is
Not
them
enough people,
listening
but
to
there
the
were still people
community
playing though.
and a majority. They listen to a majority of the community. It's just like if you watch a TV show and your TV show gets canceled. Your TV didn't get canceled because show didn't get canceled because the actors were stupid or because the show was bad. It got canceled because they saw a drop in the ratings and they said, are people watching this show? No, then I'm not making money because people aren't watching the show. I'm gonna drop it and replace it. That's the same exact argument for the game. If Riot is looking into these changes that they make, and if they're looking into the player input, they're going to make their decisions based on what the community wants. Because if they make those changes based on what the community wants, they can ensure they're actually going to continue to
So
make money.
you understand that you understand that in the beginning of in the beginning of this argument, I was saying that Riot is capable of
Are we
making
still streaming?
content that
Yes.
no,
Oh.
that Riot is capable of making content that the community would like. What you're basically arguing against is so I'm kind of confused of what you're arguing against because my argument was I think Riot is capable enough of making changes
I'm not
that the
saying it.
community would
I'm
like.
saying that they are capable. I'm not saying they're not capable of making changes to the community. Like I'm saying that there's no way for them to. If they're going in blind, if they're going in blind, just making blind changes, there's a less likely chance of them making a change the community is going to like. But if they listen to the community and they go based on statistics and they go based on the play mounts or the play goals for it, or even just going on numbers alone, they can better tailor their decisioning. They can better tailor their decisioning based on listening to the community versus randomly putting out content. If Riot continued to randomly put out whatever content came to mind all the time and ignore the community would cease to exist because no one's going to continue to come to something they don't agree that, that doesn't listen to them. It's the same thing with a job. You're not going to continue
Riot
a
already
job.
makes changes based off of numbers. So I'm saying, why can't they just continue to do that instead of some of the changes being implemented by people that don't even understand the simple mathematics of the game?
I mean,
Like, there were people crying to hell's end about about the duration of the duration of somebody's ability or the damage output of that, but they
And
failed to
usually when
realize
some
they
and
failed to
usually when
realize
someone
the
says
they failed to
something like
realize
that,
the
they
numbers
check
that
the
go
numbers.
up behind it. Like
but
And
you know
and
people don't
usually
make
when someone
decisions
or the
based
damage
on.
of the
usually
ability
you
is too high, but you don't look at the other abilities that go along with it. Then you're not
and you do
understanding the
know
basic mathematics of the game. You're
and you
just
do know when
crying just
someone
for the
makes
sake of
and you
crying.
do know when someone makes those claims, they don't listen to one person. They
Of
look at
course
how
not.
many people they look at how many people make the same claim, and then again
And the
they check
and
the
once
numbers behind
and the
it.
masses is
And if
not
the numbers
always
behind it,
and the masses not
of
always
course the math behind it's not always going to be right. But when they check everything behind it and they come to the decision of we think we should make this change because people have brought this to our attention and
that's if it's
enough
a good
people
that's something that makes that's if it's something that makes sense. A lot of some of the stuff that the
But
people
that's
be saying, you go on some of
influencing.
these forums, some of the stuff don't make sense.
That's
But if
and
influencing
a
enough
the
lot of the
but
things
if
decision.
that
enough
people
people
complain about don't
but
get
if
looked
enough
at and
people
don't get
complain about the
changed.
same thing that somebody else is complaining about, then it's like, oh, the masses want this, so we might have to make this change,
But
even
that's
though
how
it
the
may be
world.
stupid.
But that's how the world works. The world works towards
Majority
And that
rules.
is a
the
and
many,
that
not the
is
few.
a stupid and that's a stupid assumption. That's exactly why slavery became a thing. But now we're getting off track.
I
Mm,
mean, that has
First off,
nothing to
we've
do
been
with
off
freedom.
track for a very long time, and that's not how slavery became a thing. Side
Oh,
note: from now
the
on,
masses the masses decided that slavery was the masses
the
decided
masses
that
didn't. The
and
masses didn't
it
decide.
was the
The
majority
masses,
that
the
thought that
masses did
it was a
not
good
decide
idea.
that slavery was a good idea. Because if you want to go on the masses, Europe didn't have the most amount of people in the world, so not the masses. Again,
If you want to
back to
go
the
on the
other
The
point.
United
masses,
States, the
the
United
majority of
States,
people, a
the
large majority
majority
of
of the people
people
in the
were
United
against
States thought that
slavery.
it was a good idea for a time.
Yeah, minus the
For
slaves because they
for a
didn't
time,
count
they thought it was a good idea.
minus the slaves because they didn't count slaves as people. So again, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because that wasn't
How
the
do I make a lot of
masses.
sense? Because there was the majority of the people that were in, the majority of the people that could actually make
Majority of
active decisions
right,
thought
the
that
majority
slavery
of
was a
one
good
specific
idea, and
people.
because of that,
The
that
majority of
became
one
the
specific
so
people.
society thought that was a good idea because of the majority. So
I think it comes in percentages too. I would rather piss off 100 people than piss off 1,000, and
and
that's
I still do, and that's something that we just won't agree upon because I refuse to believe that just because a lot of people think that's a good idea doesn't make it a good idea.
it doesn't make it a good idea, but it makes it an idea worth
That
looking
makes
into
majority rule.
more so than
Majority rule is
ignoring it.
stupid. Majority
Majority
rule
rule
is
might
close
be
minded.
stupid. Majority rule might be stupid, but the majority rule is how money works and how companies work and how the world works.
I brought up an
One,
example
two.
earlier on TV shows. If a majority of people do not watch a TV show, it's going to get canceled. That's how Lucifer got canceled. I'm very upset about this. It got
Now,
renewed. It got renewed by Netflix. Just so you know, they
yay,
bought it.
Netflix can have it.
So if you look at it like that, a company is not going to continue to put out a product that is not profitable.
Of course not.
And when that happens, so if you think of it as a model of everything in league being bought, right? Let's say instead of
No,
champs being
no,
given to
I
us, we have to buy
completely
them.
understand where you're coming from, and
Graham,
I'm just saying that is not a good concept. It's
Graham,
it's just
Graham.
it's
It's
just
a, it's not a
It might
it's
not
an
be. It might
amazing.
not. It's not the. But the argument isn't whether it's a good concept or not.
well
It is the way
that
it
was
is.
my
And you
but
have to
that
deal
was
with
my
it.
argument.
So this is what we need you to do in the future, then, since that was your argument and that was not very clear. From now on, we're
That's legit what I
from now
said
from now on.
before you came back. That's legit what I said, Matt.
Well,
So
okay, but again, that wasn't clear 45 minutes ago. So from now on,
45 minutes ago was a different
so
argument.
from now on, we're just going to ask you to be a little bit more clear when you say something that we're not getting. Because if we did that, if everybody did that, we wouldn't have dragged this on for damn near an hour. and end up having an English lesson in this whole entire stream. So from now on, if we're not clear on something, explain it better.
We didn't just have English lesson. We had an English lesson. We had a little bit of physics. We threw in some history, some African American history because slavery. Uh, it was a good amount of stuff. We threw in some business logic as well. But I think there was a good discussion to have. I think that is a good question to leave the audience with as well. Do you think that changes should be made to more satisfy the player community, or do you think that Riot should make these changes based on what they believe? Because
It's always
who
it's
should it
always better
tailor
to make
towards?
better to make the best business choice. But what I'm saying is, if you want to make the best business choice, make the best business choice. Don't make something don't make something just because I think this is what everybody wants.
But
No,
that's what the
make the
proper
best
business
business choice.
choice
So that
is.
means make something. You make
That's what the business choice is. You make a change based on who's going to
What your
continue
consumer wants.
to consume
okay,
your product.
but then when you break something and they have to fix it, you're being counterproductive to what you're trying to do.
Right, but you're not going to be able to
It's
make
not.
every choice. You're not going to make every right choice every time. You
Exactly.
Of
You're going
course
to
can't
not.
make
do the
mistakes.
right thing 24/7, 365. That's impossible. Because
Exactly.
the other big thing about doing that is what I think is right and what you think is right are two separate rights. So you're always going to piss somebody off in the process of doing a change. That's why what you're supposed to do, and the best thing for you to do as a company, is to look at numbers. And if numbers tell you that 51% is going to be happy and 49% is going to be sad, you're still probably going to go with 51%, or you're going to go back to the drawing board and try to get a better percentage. Overall, that's all they can really do, is try to make the most percent happy with whatever change they're going to make. Is it fair? No. Is it the greatest thing to do? No. But that's their best option because you can't make 100% happy. Impossible.
And you can't make 100% good choices either. I mean, it's
Of
Riot
course not.
makes their changes as long as they continue to listen to what their community wants. They will continue to have a community. Now they're gonna fuck up and they're gonna piss off their community, that same community they're trying to appease. But that's just the way the game plays. Sometimes you're gonna piss people off, and you got to get back to the drawing board if you fuck up. But to be completely honest, that is what they are paid to do. As a developer, you are paid to come in and do what you're going to do to make money. You're gonna come in and do what's best to make money. You're not gonna come in and do things based on what you believe. And if you go and make a change blindly, that's not helping either. That's why I said that Riot may not be. Riot is still going to be influenced by the community. They might not be 100%. I have to do this because the community does, but they're always going to be influenced. No one in the world, no company, no person makes any decision without some kind of influence. And that's not just like businesses, that's people. I don't make a decision to do something just because I thought of that. There's always outside influences. It could have been years ago influence. It could be a small, subtle influence, but there's influence. So that's how the gaming industry works. That's how every industry works. Every industry is
Of
going to be
course.
influenced by their customers. Google's going to put out changes, and when Google does something, it's based on what they think the customers are going to want, because the customers have to buy their products. Microsoft, the customers have to buy your products. When you see new features added to something, the new features were added because they believe it is something that the customer wants, not because it's something they believe that is good for it. It's because they say, hey, this is something I think my users are going to want to have in their phones. I'm going to add. I looked at some of the features that other people liked from other companies, and I'm going to make these changes because I think that these changes are going to bring me more customers. It's
Yeah,
about
those are changes with thought process. Some of the stuff, like I said, some of the changes I really feel like, and I'm pretty sure that everybody here could agree on that some of the changes they made did not seem like it had really much of a thought process behind it.
I think that they made mistakes. I think that they did no one. There's no way for them to push out a change without thought process. Developing anything in a game is going to take weeks, maybe months.
Of course,
So if
But
they
I
are
said that
pushing
I
something
feel like
out,
it felt like it didn't have no thought process.
that's the
A
thing.
lot of the
It's
changes
not
they
a
made
feel
felt like
thing
it didn't
though.
have a thought
It's
process.
not a feel. It's a feel versus reality kind of thing. At that point, it's just because you feel that it is that Riot is not making those proper decisions doesn't mean that they're not making those decisions without complete thought. No one's going to throw something into their
No, but
product that they do not thoroughly think of. And maybe they're where they were leaning was wrong, or maybe their logic was wrong, but that's an issue with their logic. That's not an issue on whether they were thinking about it correctly. It's just saying, hey, I thought you guys wanted this. That was wrong. Maybe you wanted this. I'm gonna throw that out. Did you want that? You did? Awesome. I'll keep Earth for you guys every once in a while. It's kind of like that. They're going to make their decisions based on what people suggest. They're going to make their decisions based on suggestions from people and from some kind of motivation coming from behind their community. Period. And they're going to fuck up. And that's not a problem. And that's not the fault of the community. That's not the community being whiny bitches and influencing Riot too much. That's Riot doing the responsible thing for themselves as a company and listening to the people who do make them money. Because without me, without you, without any of these players, Riot would make zero. These motherfuckers would be working somewhere else. It wouldn't be Riot. Ask everyone on the Paragon team. All the motherfuckers are jobless right now. They jobless because they didn't listen to the community enough. Because the community said, this is how you could have fixed things. Look at Master X
Working on
Master.
Fortnite.
Master X, yep. Oh, they all work on Fortnite. Oh, I'm sure I'm sure some of them lost their jobs, bro. There's no way in the world that they put out this game, put all this money into this game, and then everyone just said, "Hey, we're dumping this. No one's fault. It's just the fault of the players. We're gonna waste we wasted all this money doing it. I mean, I'm sure it's an expensive game to make. Let's go to Paragon. Motherfuckers lost their jobs, bro. Don't believe the motherfuckers ain't lose their jobs. Companies are shiesty. Every company is shiesty. Except for the company I work for, if you guys magically figure out it's me, you guys are awesome. I love where I work. You could do no wrong. It's a very good stream, guys. I hope that we answer some questions for people about Aatrox during the first 40 minutes of this stream, and I hope that we some kind of way answered or opened up some questions for people about whatever the fuck we were just arguing about for the last hour or so.
As long as we made you think, that's all that.
As long as we made you think, get high, listen to this.
Not kids, not kids.
Unless you're one, if you're 18, if you're like younger than 18, you probably shouldn't be listening to this stream at all. Because I've cursed a fuck ton. I just cursed now.
We
I don't
said
think
nigga
that,
a lot.
and I've also said nigga quite a few times. I'm sure in the last 2 streams I've made some highly inappropriate sexually motivated jokes as well. So parents, please, if your child is listening to this the same way they probably shouldn't be listening to Trick 2G because he curses like a fucking sailor, or Tyler 1 because he curses like a fucking sailor, please don't let them listen to this, and please don't blame us if your kid all of a sudden starts saying nigga. That's probably your failure as parents, not because we said nigga.
Telling them that doesn't make them not blame us.
Nah,
It just makes them hate you more.
that's good.
So parents out there, just don't let them watch us. That's all.
Pretty much.
We are not for children.
Yes.
I will never in my life say that I'm an entertainer for children.
Yes.
I'm an entertainer for people that can say nigga and say fuck as much as they want. So
I'm not
kids,
even a
get
role
off.
model for children.
Exactly.
I don't even want to be considered a role model. That's what got Logan Paul in trouble. He tried to be a role model and all this bullshit, and he went and did all this dumb shit, and people were like, "Oh, these kids look up to you." Fuck that. I don't want to be Logan Paul. I don't want to be Miley Cyrus. Don't let your kids listen. But let me rephrase my last sentence. If you are a responsible 18-year-old adult and you live within a state that allows legal recreational marijuana, get high, listen to this philosophy-based stream towards the last 45 minutes of this, because you probably ain't gonna give a fuck about the Aatrox shit. Listen to the cool stuff that we talked about perception and all that other bullshit.
Perception.
Basically, perception and business etiquette.
And business etiquette. And if you plan on running a business later in the future, consider
Hit
some
us
of the
up.
things I said. Hit us up.
We can consult you.
I like money, nigga. Signing off. This is Aeon. Thanks for watching our stream.
Grim 66.
Deco says bye.
You have a good one.
Deuces, people.
Later.